Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome to the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 18, coming to you from the desolate wastelands of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're recording on February 8th, and I am your host, Elric Edge. With me tonight are
Bill Costello,
James Tapia,
and Andrew Standiferd.
Tonight's episode is mostly going to be about the LVO.
I would hope.
We're also going to discuss, obviously, the new things that have come out in the last couple weeks. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we are the U.S. Tournament Podcast, so.
Yeah. It's probably going to be a pretty long episode, so.
Yeah.
Should be tasty.
That's right.
Let's do it.
Do it. The Realm of the New Dawn. Where we're going to talk about the stuff that's come out from GW and all the new hot releases and the new White Dwarf.
Probably the biggest release is, I don't know, a Primarch.
That's
40K.
cool.
Kind of hot.
Yeah.
He's only
Yeah.
kind of my man.
Yeah, so Rowboat, Gillyman, or however you want to pronounce it, doesn't matter. He's an Ultramarine. Is an actual thing now. Pretty hot. But I think what's even better is Cypher.
His bro Cypher.
Oh,
Who's not really his bro,
Cypher.
but, you know.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
So good. And then there's some, I don't know.
Grandmaster. It's the new Grandmaster that replaces Drago because I guess he's lost in the warp.
Oh, yeah.
He's been
Is this another-
saucing it up in the warp for like the past 8,000 years.
For
so-
the Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Grandmaster for the Grey Knights. Is this the one that gets his head chopped off by Logan Grimnar for... You don't remember that?
Mm-mm.
Logan Grimnar, chops the head off of the Grey Knight Grandmaster or one of their top guys.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Had to be a bad day.
Well, yeah.
You ain't growing that back, Stormcast. Stormcast.
Yeah, really.
Space Marine.
2 hearts and only 1 head. I knew there was a flaw. So, yeah, the box is amazing.
Yeah, that model is definitely pretty damn hot.
Yeah.
Got me pretty. I think I popped a tent when I was in the bed when I opened up my phone, sitting lying next to your lovely little booty over there, sharing an
Yeah.
LVO.
Yeah, it was the first thing you showed me when we woke up. You're like, look at what just came out. I was like, oh, that Space Marine's rather large.
I ran over to Bill right away.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, you got to look
Look
at this.
at this.
Yeah. So, and then the third book of The Gathering Storm, Rise of the Primarchs, is announced. So,
yeah,
should be pretty amazing. I don't think we know really anything about it at this moment of
Yeah.
recording.
That story is going forward so fast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they are moving it.
Right.
So that's beautiful. It's almost like something. No, it couldn't be.
Yeah.
We need to quit beating that piece of dead horse flesh.
So good, though.
It is.
So good.
I know. Who was it that got you? Was it John that got you into the whole reading of the Gathering Storm?
So, yeah, I guess we can touch on it real quick. We were talking a while with the TO from Games Workshop, John, about the fluff and everything, and he was telling me all about the first Gathering Storm book, The Fall of Cadia, and how the Imperial Fists play a big part of that, and so got me pretty excited. I'm gonna have to at least get back into the fluff of it and read it all the way through.
It's a great story, and there's some really great. I'm not going to say anything because that would spoil it, but there's some.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like how when we were talking to him, this was the night before the leak, and he was saying, "Well, I've seen the cover of the new book. I can't say anything.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing." It's like, well, yeah, apparently so. It's a Primarch.
Yeah.
He definitely seemed pretty psyched about the whole thing.
Yeah,
he was
pretty
pumped.
awesome. So, I guess we'll wrap up the 40K with the new terrain that just dropped as well, all the Death World terrain. So this stuff looks pretty sweet, I think.
And it looks like it has a lot of crossover. I mean, it's not just 40K.
Yeah, I think there's a piece or two that are, I think, have some kind of vehicle bit or something on it, but the rest of it looks like it could make for some sweet.
Yeah, the Death World
Zinch
forest
or
is
Nurgle
just
stuff. Or
Yeah, if you ask me, that's a Zinch forest right there, the Death World forest.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. That'll be sweet too, to kind of change up the look of. I know some people have done some pretty amazing stuff with the, essentially the Sylvaneth Woods. I forget what they're called off the top of my head, but by painting them like cherry blossom trees and all kinds of different stuff, you can make them look pretty cool. But it's roughly the same. It's the same kit, just painted differently. So.
And in this February White Dwarf, there's a whole 6-7 page spread about different ways to do the Citadel wood.
Yeah, that's the one, Citadel wood, sweet.
And they look totally different. I mean, they're amazing. So yeah, it's something else in this White Dwarf.
Cool. All right, so shall we jump into the Age of Sigmar releases?
You should.
We got some more information about the new Stormcast book.
Oh yeah.
So it's like 138 pages or something.
Yeah.
It's going to have prayers and artifacts and like 6 pages of it and everything. Ben Curry did a in-depth thing. I'm sure he has a copy.
Of course.
That he's not allowed to talk about yet.
Yeah.
So should be awesome. It's only, I thought it originally was going to be 50. It's only $40, which if you've already bought the Stormcast book,
which is now useless.
Yeah, because it's all the same stuff but updated and it has
yeah.
all the new stuff in it as well.
Yeah.
So it should be pretty good.
It makes me wonder if they will do something with the app instead to just update the Stormcast Battle Tome you've already bought to the new version, or make you buy a separate digital version.
They did that with the, I want to say in 40K with the Demon Codex.
Yeah.
If you bought it, they added the new units from the one with the Wolfen in it.
Curse Offenders.
Yeah. They added those units and those formations to that.
Did they do that with Tau?
Codex.
With the Tau book? When the Call of, or was it Warzone? Kayun or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Kayun came out with the new big robots.
Yeah.
I don't know if the digital copy got updated with those rules or not.
No, it did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because I got the digital on my phone. Because I read your book, and then I went on and they updated it later on. So
sweet. So hopefully it does that. But if you bought the paperback or the paper version, then you're kind of hosed.
Yeah.
So. Do you think it'll have the same thing with the Disciples of Zinch with the app, where you have to buy it on the app? To where you don't get the points, or do you think they might have some? Yeah,
because it'll probably be all updated points. And so to get the updated points, you'll probably have to buy the digital version to unlock it again.
I think that'd be kind of cool if they had some serial code in your book that you can enter into the app.
Yeah, people have been talking about that pretty much ever since the AOS app dropped.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it would be viable. They'd have to shrink wrap every book that they sold, because anybody could just go into the game store and
just
when the owner's not looking, just open it,
tear a copy open. Yeah.
So, and it would mean no resale value whatsoever for the books.
Yeah.
Well, very little resale value. So, what else did we get for Age of Sigmar?
Really, just more Zinch releases, more the flood of Zinch coming out.
So, Games Workshop released trial points for mostly Tomb Kings and Fire Slayers, with a couple other little things that are going to be used at the South Coast Grand Tournament this year, and there's a couple other little pre-tournaments, I guess, that are going to run them as well. Basically, they dropped the points universally for Fire Slayers and then bumped up significantly the points for a lot of the really strong Tomb King stuff. What do you guys think of that?
I think it was pretty awesome. Definitely has me looking into wanting to have some extra Fire Slayers to add to my Stormcast, and maybe especially if they add it to any of the battalions like they've done with the recent books, like for Sylvaneth and Disciples of Zinch.
Yeah, there's that reduction across the board it's going to make Fire Slayers viable on the table, but they're going to continue with the same problem is in that they're really expensive to buy. And I hate to agree with you, but there needs to be a getting started Fire Slayers.
Get started.
And it pains me to say that.
Why does it pain you, Bill? Why does it pain? It's not like they're an overpowered army or anything like that.
But just to agree with you is like, wow, man, how did you do that?
Fair enough. So on the Bad Dice Daily, Ben did an interview with Liam, who's a Fire Slayer player, and one of the points he brought up was that now for 180 points, you can have your 3 battle line for
Yes.
order. And then just go on to anything else you
Yeah.
want, which is pretty good. And that's still 30 wounds of dudes
Yeah.
for 180 points.
Yeah, and because Order really needed cheaper battle line
Right.
units.
Well, they were
Yes, they
pretty
did.
limited on their battle line selection to begin with.
Yeah.
It's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Because they only have like 27, 30 choices, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Domus.
What do you think, James? Especially about the Tomb Kings.
No, it brings them back, I think, where they should have been.
Right.
I think when we had South Coast, they were pointed appropriately.
Yeah.
And then when they released the General's Handbook, I was like, wow, these are a lot cheaper than South Coast points. Like,
Significantly.
significantly cheaper. I think I haven't done the math and see if they bumped them up to where they were before with South Coast.
Yeah, they were 12 points under South Coast, so they'd be 240.
240, yeah. So that's exactly where I think they should be.
Yeah.
I was running through Jules' list, so you have to make some changes, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. Roll with those punches, that's new points, everyone's gonna have to get used to this. They're gonna do that across the board with, I think, a lot of the units.
With the General's Handbook,
Can be
too.
like, these are the new points, deal with it.
I think, honestly, the whole push back on the Compendium Scroll ban was not, I don't think it had very much to do with like, oh, that's my favorite army or any of that stuff. I think it's the fact that, the snakes were so cheap and so good, and a lot of the other stuff in the Compendium Scrolls is really good and possibly undercosted. And so to get rid of all that stuff, yeah, there's some people that, may have gotten hosed out of their flavor or something, but I think a lot of it centered around that. So by bringing the points up to something that is probably a little more accurate of their power level, it means that, I know like Tyler Mengel said he doesn't care what the points are. He's going to play
Right,
Tomb
he's
Kings
gonna
because
do
that's
it.
like his jam. And
Yeah.
it's guys like him that's cool because they don't care about the power level.
Right.
They're still good. They're
Yeah.
just as good now as they've always been. You just have to, pay some more points for them so you don't get as many. But, Tomb King players that love the way Tomb Kings look on the table still can play
Aren't
Tomb
gonna-
Kings.
Yeah, they're not out of it
And
by any
the
means.
crazy powered lists won't exist for death anymore.
So, I remember you saying something about Tomb Kings going away in General's Handbook 2. Doesn't look like that's gonna happen now.
I really didn't think, well, maybe not General's Handbook 2.
I mean, eventually I think they will, but
Sure.
I was pretty sure they were going to keep it around, and you were adamant that they were going to drop that like hot potato. And it looks like now all that stuff's still going to stay in there.
Yeah, and honestly, with Tomb Kings and Bretonnians and all that stuff, like I don't want to see them go. I'd never had anything against the armies. Like I've always enjoyed, especially about those armies. And I think what they should do, especially with Bretonnians, is just AOSify them, as it were. Like bring them in line with the high fantasy. But that goes for like Dwarden and Elves and a lot of the other stuff that's kind of languishing behind as well. And I hopefully they do that. And we won't necessarily lose the scrolls. They can just, some of the stuff maybe they'll weed out. It's okay if they cut a skew or two out of it. But, if they're like, well, these are the new Necropolis Knights and maybe we'll call them something ever so slightly different. And they just come out with some crazy new model and redo those horrific skeletons.
Yeah.
And skeleton horsemen and some of those really old, the old 7th or 6th edition releases they had for them, because the Sphinxes and the Necropolis Knights and the Sepulchral Stalkers, the newer stuff they got in 7th, I think fits the
It works
AOS
pretty good.
narrative.
I mean,
They look
they
good.
could even do something like just throw in an extra sprue to update it. I mean, add like a different head, some different arms or something like that, and kind of AOSify it that way. I mean, because they kind of did that with when they did Flesh Eater. I mean, they said they put the sprues that were already existing in there, but you could
Showed a
put the different
way,
head
yeah.
and you could do a different thing. I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, I think they do that all the time too. I think they did that in 40K with the Gene Stillers. They just threw in an extra sprue into an Astra Militarum.
Oh
box,
yeah,
and then
for like
there's-
all that stuff,
and there's a new
all
unit,
the tanks
exactly.
and, yeah.
So I
So
don't
that
think
could
I don't
work.
think it'd be that hard to do for Tomb Kings if
And
they
then
wanted to.
Just can both skeleton lines and do a whole new skeleton and zombie
Mhm.
line.
That would be nice.
much better than what they
I mean,
have
they
now.
could even release do the new skeletons? Yeah, they have the new skeletons, right? With the
Who?
Vampires have
a newer
skeleton
one, but it's been out for quite
I mean, they
a
can
while.
release new
quite
heads with
some
it.
time.
New sprue, and you got Tomb King skeleton.
Yeah, sure. There's ways to get around it and incorporate them, I think. And Bretonnians probably could use like a Dark Eldar-esque facelift, and just bring that whole army. But there's nothing stopping a chivalric knightly order
They could
type thing
reinvent
from
them as
existing.
something.
Yeah, and just dial them up a little
Mhm.
to the level of Age of Sigmar, like everything else has been. So
now here's my question. A trial balloon got floated about dropping the Compendium War Scrolls, and it kind of went over like a fart in church from the outcry that came out. Next thing you know, we have points adjustments for a set of Compendium and a set of new releases. Makes me kind of think that maybe the Compendium Scrolls are going to be around for quite a long time as they balance those against the new releases, at least until there's enough options for the people that play those armies to have something else to play.
yeah, maybe. I mean, sure, it's going to take years for them to get everything caught up to Age of Sigmar. It might very well be some form of second edition Age of Sigmar by the time some of this stuff gets the attention it should get.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think they just made that corporate decision, if you will, to say, no, the Compendium Scrolls are staying. We're not going to let anybody not play with their toys, but we're going to make it a lot more tantalizing to move to some of the newer stuff we're making. Here, try Stormcast. Here, try Zinch. Here, try Fire Slayers.
bumping the points up to a point where, yeah, I forget, somebody, I think, made a comment akin to that of like, well, they'll just price the compendium stuff to the point where the only people who want to keep playing it are the people who are really enjoying
really
want to
play it.
But the more,
i.e. Tyler Mangle, who's going to play Tomb Kings no matter what.
Yeah, right. And then the people that, kind of get into the weeds here of the competitive aspect, but people who want to play in the more competitive tournament style stuff will be like, well, that stuff's overcosted for match play, so I'll move on to this new hotness.
To other hotness.
Maybe, so.
Well, what was it Ben Curry said when he was doing it? Russ Veal's list that he won the Masters with was 2,600 points.
Yeah.
So, now, I mean, under the new
points, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big jump. That's almost playing half again another army.
So, well, here's a tinfoil hat theory.
Uh-oh.
So before the Masters on Facehammer, Russ was kind of joking about playing the Tomb Kings, and Les was telling him he shouldn't because he thought it would be bad for the hobby to have Tomb Kings. At that time, I think they thought maybe it would be streamed, right?
Right.
And to have Tomb Kings potentially stomping face at the Masters, which they ended up doing. Maybe they said GW told Russ Veal, go ahead and bring the Tomb Kings and smash all these chumps, and then that can justify us adjusting the points.
Oh, mind
bum, bum, bum. No, I don't know. I seriously doubt any of that. They probably did look at the lists and they were like, okay, well, maybe being able to cram 12 snakes and everything else you want into a death army might be a little bit much.
Yeah, well, I think Johnson said that they've been working on this for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This is pretty much a final.
I was just joking with tinfoil hat nonsense. But
well, my mind was blown.
Yeah, they're the Illuminati of Warhammer.
So, with the sneak peek being specifically for Order and Death, does that kind of get you a little hopeful for some changes to the destruction points of Iron Jaws there, buddy?
Look, I'm a fragile man. I don't want to hope that my Iron Jaws will get love. No, I think so. Here's kind of one of my concerns is that they'll float this because the point reduction for Fire Slayers is significant. It means that they can actually finally be the Horde army that they're really supposed to be.
They should be.
But if they reduce the points of everything, then it kind of negates that effect. You know what I mean? It's like that whole all ships rise when the tide comes in kind of.
High tide rises all ships.
Yeah, kind of thing. So obviously I'm a little biased. I think the Fire Slayers, you'd be crazy to think the Fire Slayers didn't need to drop in points.
No, that's a given.
But I'm hoping that, Iron Jaws will also get smart point reductions.
Yes.
And I talked at length about that.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of things that don't need point adjustments. I think they're sitting, or things that need. So, like, take Sylvaneth, for example, right? Here we go. No, I'm just kidding. I think a lot of the stuff in Sylvaneth is probably appropriately costed. I think the only 2 changes that I would make to the Sylvaneth army is I would decrease the points of the Tree Lord, just the basic Tree Lord, because he's not a character, so he can't get the artifacts. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody take a Tree Lord.
Yeah, there's no
and
point.
There's formations that require him, and people actively don't take those formations because he's not that great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some point reduction on him would be alluring to have people try some of those other formations that are in the book. And then I think Kurnoth Hunters should probably go up. I know there's probably people that don't think. James shaking his head over there.
I'm strongly.
What's wrong, James? You can't play without 18 Kurnoth Hunters in a list.
Sylvaneth still didn't win, bro.
Actually,
Your Iron Jaws came in.
I'm not. This isn't out of anger or anything.
No.
So, but some people will probably say like, well, Durthu just got to go up because he's so good. I don't think Durthu needs to go up. I think probably just about every other monster out there needs to come down.
Yeah. Well,
Significantly.
what if you just made Durthu a named character?
Yeah.
So
Ryan
was talking
take
about
all
that
this.
crazy stuff.
Right. So you
now
can give him the
he's
artifacts.
costed correctly because he's not going to be coming in just beating face. Well,
Well,
he's going to beat face.
You can't have
but
the
not
2-up
as much.
save.
Right.
Right.
So now he becomes killable.
Do you think if they treated the Kurnoth Hunters a lot like how they did with the Paladins, where they're 3 different Paladins, they have like multiple.
Yeah, because the bow guys are definitely not worth it.
Like,
and the swords aren't nearly as good as the sides either.
Retributors are 220, whereas all the other Paladins are 200.
So if you did like 220 for sides, 200 for swords, and then kept them at 180 for the bows.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd make the bows 200 and the swords 180.
Yeah,
I think the bows give you so many options, and not just in a Sylvaneth army. I'll talk about one of my games where I played against a mixed Sylvaneth Wanderers list, and the guy had Kurnoth Hunters in there just for the fact that they're ridiculously long-range, devastating shooting unit,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Until you play with them, and then you're hitting twice, winning once. They're really not. I was talking with like some of my other Sylvaneth opponents, and the bows, they're kind of like there's that time when you'll hit with all 6 hits or 5 of the 6 hits, and then you'll do 16 wounds with your D3 after it's multiplied, and then there's some times where you'll do 1 wound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else.
Yeah, and I cry for you, but
No, I'm just saying, but with only 2 shots, with 2 shots apiece and stuff. I mean, if you look at something like the Enlightened or the Skyfires, I mean, they're even cheaper than Hunters,
but they're super fragile. I mean, the ability, like Kurnoth Hunters have both range defense, the ability to go in forests. Like most armies don't have like where they can put the area terrain on the table and stay in it, whereas Sylvaneth do. That really helps benefit to them, and then to be able to move across the table and stay in that terrain no matter where they go.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get that stuff down too.
Plus, while they're obviously not as hot as the sides in combat, they don't suck because they can still re-roll their armor saves and kick out mortal wounds,
and then teleport away,
and
then
defend
teleport
themselves.
away, yeah, and then be brought back to life with that one formation and all that stuff. So. Yeah, I think it would be good. I think that having varying point costs for one unit based on what they're equipped with is something that would be really good for a lot of different things.
Yeah,
like Andrew, your thing with the Knight Vexillor with the
yeah.
banner, how the teleportation banner is probably appropriately accosted, but the guy who kicks out 1d3 mortal wounds once in the game, probably not worth 200 points.
Probably needs to be about 20.
Yeah,
I'd love to play him because he also benefits to reroll charges, and he's not super amazing in hand-to-hand, but does that once per game. Yeah, it's 2d6 bubble, but it's once per game.
Right. So, and there's other stuff like the Zangor Enlightened. They're the same points on the disc that they are on foot why would you ever take them on foot?
You would never do them on foot.
Because they gain a wound and flying.
And flying.
For free.
And
the same thing
as well.
Yeah, and plus the attack profile, plus characters that can get on horses for
Right.
free. So it just like triples their movement. You know, I mean, it used to cost stuff, and obviously you don't want to overcomplicate things, but I don't know. It just seems that would be a more accurate representation.
A mounted vampire lord is slightly better than a foot vampire lord. Yeah.
And then there's the winged one who can fly over units to get away from stuff.
It's just a wonderful thing.
Right. So
that's the point increases pretty much, I think, in a nutshell. We'll see what it does at South Coast GT, and I think it's gonna.
I'm really hoping if you're thinking about going to the South Coast GT and you have a Fire Slayer army, please take it so that they can get a representation of what the
look
point.
At it.
Yeah, what the
Some
point.
good data points.
Right, exactly. Oh, and something else new that came out that we should talk about: chocobos.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm gonna put some Buster Blades on those.
Yeah. So the Vanguard wing or chamber or whatever for the new Stormcast, they got chocobo riders.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first saw the models, I was like, "Hey, more Stormcast riding stuff, yay!" And then somebody put up a picture of Cloud on a chocobo, and I was like, "Well, crap! Now I have to buy the army and paint them yellow and gold and black and green and then
hair.
breed them together.
Get some wavy hair in there.
Yeah, and then every time I play my opponent, play the Golden Saucer music. Yeah.
You're going all in.
Well, yeah. They're awesome. So I was actually pretty excited about them.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they're releasing both the Gryph-hounds and the Aether Wings, so they're actually making it where it's not just the Storm Bros. They're actually giving them other units to go along with them because they're the hunters of the Stormcast.
Yeah.
I think that comes back to something that we're going to talk about later when we get to LVO is if you know you're going up against a Stormcast Eternal player, you know you're facing Warrior Brotherhood. In very rare instances, you don't. Now the Stormcast is going to have a lot of options. So,
yeah.
And you might see different lists out of the Stormcast.
For sure. Yeah.
But we're going to touch on that later. So,
and then the last thing I think that we can touch on is new Warhammer Quest.
Yes.
Got announced. So
Guardians of Hellhammer.
Shadow of Hammerhall.
Yeah, there you go. Very excited. We don't know much. Just a picture got leaked or set up, whatever. I'm really, really happy. Oh, is there some in the White Dwarf?
Yeah.
I think it's
then.
Because it's not like an expansion. It's supposed to be like a sequel to the Silver Tower, which is pretty cool. I think.
It's a kind of a different way to... There it is. Shadows over Hammerhall.
But it doesn't show what they're fighting against.
No, and it's...
It does have a pretty sweet dwarf in there, though, in the picture.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be a thing. And that's a great thing because that just means they're actually not, throwing that game by the wayside. They're going to keep expanding it. And I mean, heck, the first one is just, it's a blast. We haven't worked our way all the way through it yet.
Yeah, that dwarf, he looks pretty tight.
The dwarf looks so good. Oh.
We have Dwarf Crush going on. We might have to pause.
Oh, there's an elf in the background, too.
See?
Back behind the Stormcast.
Oh, nice.
And all kinds of different chaos. There's a Acolyte, Zinch Acolyte. There's a Marauder. There's a Nurgle Bros up front. That Dark Elf Corsair character with a peg leg.
This is awesome radio, talking about a picture on.
Oh, God, that guy. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that because I was hoping that this was what they would do, is like they did when they originally dropped Warhammer Quest.
Yeah.
Where they keep coming out with content.
Yeah,
for it.
and the way they did it with the play-by-number books, it's perfect for expansions.
Exactly, yeah. So if once a year we get like a big release like that, and then a few months later we get like a character pack like they did last time, where it's just basically a screaming deal on a handful of characters, that would be fantastic. So.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, and then the last thing we had for New Dawn really was the new White Dwarf, which if you haven't seen the February White Dwarf, grab it. If it could be better than the previous White Dwarfs, it actually is.
Jeez. Yeah, I've heard it. There's
enough painting in this one, and it's not just standard, take brush X, dip in pot Y, apply to model. There's a heavy metal painter who's showing how to do blends and how to do all kinds of, showing the consistency of the paint again. And it's cracking good. Plus they wrap up that battle of 4 warlords.
Oh yeah.
And the final battle is epic. So
Nice.
it's one of those ones I wish they'd filmed that fight,
yeah.
but you can tell it's in their break room, not, anything. But I'm telling you what, that battle was awesome just from the write up.
Do we want to touch on the rumor picture? Basically, more steampunk dwarf stuff. They just keep teasing me.
And they are just
hateful.
They are
Hateful.
hateful
Just
of you.
Please let me.
GW's just trolling you, buddy.
I know. At this
You know
point-
they're coming.
I know. I just. I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
I hear you. You want them to be good.
Did they ever release the picture of that one with the vents or anything? What it went to? Like
Oh,
back,
that had the little rune in the
Yeah.
corner? No, that's
They
the
never-
oldest one.
they
that
never
hasn't been
revealed
confirmed
what it
yet.
is.
So,
They're really trolling.
yeah,
Bad.
there was that, the little spear with the hook thing, and then
Mhm.
the one today. And then last week was a door, an unpainted door that had gears that did not look anything like a 40K model.
No,
Not even
sure
remote.
didn't. It looked stone-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked more like a 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea
Mhm.
kind of.
Like a big old door going into some kind of golem or something for a nice little
It's
door.
an attack on you, Elric. Yeah, you know it.
So excited.
Yep.
But also nervous.
I hear you. So is that it for New Dawn?
Yeah, sure. Let's stop talking about that. Let's get into what everybody really wants to hear.
Creation.
What James painted.
The realm of creation, where we're going to talk about what we've been up to in the hobby the last 2 weeks ish. Bill,
Well, everyone knows we went to LVO, so I had a couple of breakneck nights trying to finish the army, get it based. I finished absolutely everything. Got it dull coated, got it protected, made spots for it in the battle foam, TM, and I completely forgot to dry brush the textured bases. So even on TV, they looked black. It looked like I hadn't based them at all. So I was just kicking myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my mistake. But I got some nice comments about most of the army. There was one guy that fell in love with the Harbingers and was just taking pictures. I think he just loved the lollipop blades, the really shiny blades with the lightning on them. So I like the way they came out. So
Yeah, it considering you painted it all in like 3 days in a NyQuil haze.
yeah. There was a
it
lot
looks
of that.
pretty good. So
So yeah, but enough about me. Andrew, how about yours?
I was able to finish up my Stormcast. I painted them up as the Hollowed Knights. I had to finish up my Dracoths, my Judicators, and 3 units of Prosecutors in the last following weeks. 'Cause it was a heavy task, but I managed to get it all done and at least based it all too as well, because I was going with a theme that they showed in one of the White Dwarfs where they put together one of the texture paints.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember which one it was, and then I kept throwing the idea around which colors I should do, and asked all you guys several times. And then I really wanted to put snow on there because I was going for the theme that they're the Hollowed Knights from the Wardens of the Realm Gate,
Yeah.
where they truck through the snow. And then, but I managed to finish it all up and get it ready for the LVO. It was tight, but many long nights and aching backs, but
It
got
looked
through
great,
it.
man. It looked flipping great. I loved it. So
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Elric.
I managed to be thoroughly disappointed in James for not getting my army fully painted. For the LVO.
But the triumphs. You got the
yeah.
triumphs.
Yeah.
At least you remembered them all. The one
I did.
game I
I
did.
did.
I
Well-
got mine. I didn't remember mine.
We'll touch on all that shenanigans. Yeah, I passed the ball to James, who forgot that he was playing. And dropped
Oh, he was a Falcons guy.
it.
Oh, no, too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Hey.
My bad.
Wah, wah. No, I'm kidding. It actually probably worked out in my favor, but we'll talk about all that.
I knew you need that little bit of extra help there.
Yeah. So, James, what did you take your time to paint other than my army, which you said you would get done in time?
Hey, you gave it to me a week before. So.
Yeah, a week.
Oh.
7 days, James, to paint like the wind.
So I think the last time I was freaking out, I mentioned that I had to paint half a Warrior Brotherhood. That was 15 Liberators, 10 Retributors, 10 Retributors and 5 Protectors.
But let it be known you were doing that for a friend. So
Yes, and those were actually to a pretty decent standard, so
yeah.
that killed me. And then I had to finish 20 Brutes
Yeah.
and some War Chantas.
But not all the war chantas. Some of 'em.
He wasn't a War Chanter. I don't know what you're talking
He's got a
about.
big old drum kit,
He's
man.
he's not a
What are
War
you talking
Chanter.
about?
He's not a
Just
War
looks like a
Chanter.
He looks more like War Chanter
He's
than the
just
other
some-
air
he's just
traffic
some-
controller bros that...
He's just some
Just some big orc banging on a drum.
unit guy with a drum.
Whatever.
It's not really
Whatever.
if you had a War Chanter, then I'd say.
You wouldn't have done it. You wouldn't have done it.
So I got that done, barely. Came down with a cold
Oh man. Yeah.
the Monday before, so that was not fun. Kind of tidied up my army. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. And then I got a painting nomination
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
for
Definitely
for
worth it.
Sylvaneth. So that was pretty sweet. So I was hoping for. I figured I wouldn't get best painted, but I was hoping to get at least a nomination, which I did.
So, question. Now that you've seen... Because this is like the first... Is this the first, like, more than 50-ish player
Yeah.
tournament? What do you think you have to do to your painting standards to actually compete for best painting?
Kick it
Like,
over
do
the
you
top.
really...
I wouldn't want to.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
You don't think you can take it to that level?
Well, I'm too busy
Painting everybody
chasing
else's
the meta,
arms?
so I don't have time for that crap.
Oh, come on.
I think
Nah.
if you focused on a couple of units or at least
Well,
some
I
like
could,
monsters
but
or something, you can definitely go
I'm
for
moving
the
on
key
to Zinch
models.
next, so
Did you just say Nietzsche?
no, it's Zinch.
Oh, all right.
I'm moving on to that next.
He's
So
not-
that's
he's
the
not
thing.
Scott.
I paint armies to a pretty decent standard quickly. I think every GT we've gone to, I have a different army. I don't play the same army twice. Pretty much.
You should actually move on to Seraphon
Does that mean
so that you could paint mine.
Does that mean we're only going to see your Sylvaneth for another tournament there?
No, he said if he made it. Well,
Oh.
we won't go into that. We'll discuss that when we go over our games in the final
I'm buying,
standings.
3 more boxes of bow hunters.
No, you're done. You're done. You said if you made
No,
spoiler
no.
alert. You said if you made it into the top 10, you're done.
I lied.
Well, I want to see a video of you setting those up in your backyard and setting them on fire. See,
Like that one today where he was burning
his old dark elf army.
We need to
no,
fuel the
he was
industry's
burning that
fire.
one. Oh god, it was on Twitter. I should have mentioned it. I don't remember what it was, but
Oh,
he was burning that one model with a not nice sign about GW.
Oh, I think I remember seeing
Yeah.
something about that on Facebook a while back. He burned his entire army.
No, he just burned one model.
Oh, was it one
And
just model?
It was a dwarf. It was a dwarf. I think it was a Fire Slayer model. He was evidently mad.
Why?
To get even with GW, of course. I would burn my
You
models
bought
to get
the
to
model, dumb. They already
Yeah.
have your money. Like, why would...
them. But I'm making
It's
a
like those
statement.
people getting mad, burning J.K. Rowling's books, and her
Right.
tweet was, "I got your money, burn away." It's like,
You want a
don't
lighter?
care. Yeah, you want my lighter?
Yeah, exactly.
Gee, whatever.
So I think we all did a lot of creation leading up to LVO. So, but it was a good thing because, tournaments always motivate you to paint. So,
Well,
I wouldn't have-
some form of event. Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been for LVO. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna actually, now that I don't have to worry about trying to crank out brutes,
Mhm.
building stuff last minute, I want to try to. Every month, GW does a thing where they do like a painting kind of air quotes competition.
Yeah.
Like, they'll just throw out like, this month is painting beasts.
Yeah, do this.
So give James a great excuse to paint my flipping Gorgruntas finally.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe I could find some kind of a beast in one of my armies. Does a squig count as a beast?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Why
sure.
not?
Maybe I'll paint up a sweet, like,
One of those big-
lime green squig.
I'd like to see that.
Like your Seahawks, you god-awful Seahawks shirt you're wearing.
Damn
right
straight.
That is pretty bright.
It's like, oh, neon green's my favorite color.
Never
Outside
mind,
of
it's
blue.
not going to be green. I couldn't do
Just
that to
Put
Squigs.
put some blue in there.
Yeah.
Well, you could go red, silver, and blue. You know.
Oh, God, no.
Favor the winners.
Get out of here, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Get out,
Leaving now.
get out of your own house.
Leaving now. All right, is that it for creation?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Good.
The realm of battle lore, where we're going to talk about our battles and the LVO all in one. So I guess we'll just go kind of like a day by day,
Yeah.
blow by blow thing. So we went out Thursday morning. Well, got there Thursday afternoon because it's a 9-hour drive.
10 hours with all our stops.
Yeah, 10 hours.
with all our stops. So
Because I brought my wife.
when we got there, got situated, went down to the floor. Pretty amazed at how massive the rooms were. Incredibly spacious.
Oh, yeah.
There was plenty of room to get around. You weren't nut to butt. And the vendors had a pretty significant chunk of area that was easily accessible. It was pretty nicely done, in all honesty. And then we helped do some setup for the AOS. We met John, the TO, and then I geeked out a little bit because I saw Rob in the corner helping, getting all the stream stuff set up. And eventually, after setting up the stuff, we went and introduced, Bill and I and Andrew went and introduced ourselves to John and Rob and
Eddie.
And Nick and Dan.
Well, Eddie wasn't down.
Oh, no, Eddie
No,
wasn't
it was
there yet.
it
Nick
was
and Dan.
Nick and Dan, and Dan's the guy behind the
camera.
Dan the
camera,
cameraman.
and Nick is the guy that feeds information to Rob and Eddie. So it's a big team thing. So that was awesome.
That was nerd heaven right there.
Yeah, it was so cool to
Sitting
just
down for a half hour
actually
talking
talk
with Rob.
Rob
John.
and John about like rules questions, game questions, fluff questions, everything. It was that was awesome.
Yeah, because didn't we approach him to, at first ask him about the whole Zeros controversy?
Yeah, so the Night of Zeros thing and the lightning strike that was floating around Twitter for a bit, they ruled it. Well, I should say this is from the guy who ran the event at LVO. I won't put anything past that.
Don't official.
Exactly.
Drop the official part. But you can't come within 3 inches when you use the Night of Zeros to lightning strike in.
Yeah, it's
because
considered a move.
So, which is probably the best way to play that, anyways. Because I would imagine they'll hopefully clear that up when either the new Stormcast book drops, or maybe some kind of an FAQ thing, or with the General's Handbook too.
Yeah, probably then.
Elaborate that.
And I had to ask a very specific question to start off as well, revolving around mine.
Yeah, so anybody from the TGA forums, listen up.
So the very first thing I did was I went up to John, obviously the TO of the tournament, because it was, part of my battalion within my army. I wanted to make sure to clear up any controversy beforehand, and asked him about my battalion. It's the Wardens of the Realm Gate, and it has point value, 80 points, it requires Protectors, Paladins, Lord Castellan, 2 Liberators, and comes with a Realm Gate in the battalion. And I asked him, I was like, well, am I allowed to play it? And they said, well, does the battalion itself have a point value? I was like, yeah, it's 80 points. It's in the General's Handbook. And it's like, well, then you get it for free. And I was like, are you absolutely sure? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And that's how both him and Rob viewed it. So
the points are assumed to be, or the point cost of the Realm Gate is assumed to be in the battalion.
Exactly.
Cost.
Even though the Realm Gate doesn't have its own separate cost,
Right.
it's folded into that battalion. So.
Exactly. So I just wanted to get that cleared off in a way because my army wasn't relying on it. It was just a perk to my overall army and to the play of it.
Right.
It wasn't dependent on it at all, but it was a bonus for sure.
Yeah. So it was a great night.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
So we went back up to our rooms after eating
Burgers.
Oh yeah, incredibly overpriced burgers. Delicious.
I don't know. Mine wasn't so bad. I got the beer, fries, and a burger for $20.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyways, so Friday rolled around. We did the narrative event. So the way this was set up was you had Archeon and the Forces of Chaos fighting against Gordrak and the Forces of Destruction. And when you went down to register for it, you had to pick a side. We all chose Destruction.
Yep.
And I actually brought Gordrak, which was awesome.
Oh, narrative.
Yeah. And the Archeon side actually had an Archeon model, which is also very cool.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, the two of them did not fight each other. That would have been fun, but
I didn't allow that.
yeah. So what'd you do round one?
Or no, for the narrative event?
Yeah.
Yeah, round one, I took a Warrior Brotherhood because honestly...
Because it's really a narrative.
Well, it's very narrative, actually. It's like lightning striking in and going and striking in someone. Why the heck
It's
not?
in every book.
It's like, that's their thing. Ride the lightning. It's like, I think you got to play a little bit of Metallica in the background when you play Stormcast. I played Warrior Brotherhood, and I saw that they were playing Archeon. The first thing I want to do is, like, if I'm going to go down swinging, I'm going to go down and killing Archeon. And, I did 35 wounds to him.
Oh,
and that was just the Paladins.
Yeah. 35 unsaved wounds.
Unsaved wounds. I knocked him down to about 5 wounds left, and then my Paladin struck into him. And literally everything in my army attacked him. And I didn't want to leave it to chance, just to make sure.
Right.
There's no such thing as overkill when it comes to Archeon.
Yeah.
So, I did an additional 35 wounds to Archeon. With the Paladins, because I rolled a load of 6s and he did not make a lot of saves.
Oh, wow.
But it was pretty sweet. Just and then after that, when it went to their turn, I definitely felt the heat.
Yeah, it's like 8,000 points of their army.
4 different players on their sides, because I think it was 10-10 is what it was.
Something like that.
It was 10 on
so
10,
it was 20,000 points on 20,000, and I had I was in the face of 8,000 points. There's like, hey. You're right here. They're all like halfway across the table. We'll just kind of get rid of the Stormcast. Yeah. I actually ended up at the end of the game, which was really nice. One model left because they had a system through it, but one model stayed from the start to finish, and it was one Judicator.
Nice.
One Judicator Prime lived the whole game.
Promote that guy.
Yeah, Gordrak almost made it.
Oh,
the whole way to the end, and then finally died. I think in the last round.
Yeah, it was
finally
the last.
Got brought down by
it was
Warp
round
Lightning
4.
Cannon.
Yeah.
So, but to touch on like the mechanics of it real quick, because again, it was 10,000, 20,000
20,000 points per side.
So the way John did it was each side had 30 minutes to do everything, and so at the beginning of your turn, he had a great big foam die that we would nominate one person on the team to roll.
Jules.
General Julian.
Yeah. Well, this was. Beside rolling for initiative, the way the actual turns worked was whatever the number was rolled on the die, that's how many spells that whole side got to cast. Yep. And so you had to delegate spell casting out to whoever needed it.
Which is a cool mechanic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it saved a lot of time.
Yes, sure. And, but you also had to get your opponents fighting in as well in the 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which didn't always happen.
No.
Oh, come on, buddy. You get a great experience there.
A little frustrating, but it's okay. It was overall a really cool event. It was awesome to see all that stuff on the table.
Oh yeah.
There were Bloodthirsters and Scarbrand,
you name
and
it,
Lariel, Gordrak, and Archeon.
3 Necrosphinxes.
Oh gosh,
3 Necrosphinxes.
So
God, anchoring an entire flank practically.
My Dracoth army and Jules' Death army pretty much
held
off an entire flank twice because they brought it back twice and we twice.
Oh my gosh.
You also didn't get allegiance abilities, which I didn't think was a big deal, but it kind of sucked for Death.
It really hurt me.
It was just little things like that helped. Oh, and then the way we would do combat is we were essentially playing on 4 6x4 tables that were all lined up together lengthwise. And whoever won the priority would pick one table, then the other team would pick one, and you'd go back and forth till all 4 tables have been picked. And the tables you picked, your entire force would fight first. Yeah. And then the opponent would fight back, which sounds incredibly powerful. And it was in some instances to have, sometimes there was one table where basically all the combat was happening.
And it was always chosen first.
Yeah.
Every tie.
Yeah, by both sides. So there was a lot of blood there. But again, you're like bringing units back and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it worked out.
Yeah, on our table, we lost the initiative 3 out of 4 turns. That hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but overall, John did an incredible job keeping it clicking along. I think overall it was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
We played.
'Cause we had an hour break.
Yeah, and
with
we
an hour
even had
break.
a break in there to go get something to
lunch.
eat. So it was really, really well done. It was really fun to play in.
Yeah, compliments.
And Gordrak won. So
Yeah.
our side won.
By
And,
better mathematics.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just outmathed them.
Yes.
And Bill, I think you got something cool from it.
Yeah, I think I won Gordrak's Best Brawler. That was the award. He gave out, John gave an award out to each side, one player from each side. And he picked me for our side. I don't think I'd have any great generalship, but I was actually going up against 2 guys that were brand new to the hobby. Just happened to be the guy that had Archeon.
It was their first time
playing Age of
Age of
Sigmar.
Sigmar. Rolling dice for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
They had been messing around with it. One of the guys was really into painting.
Yeah, he was
and
a
everything.
fantastic painter too.
Yeah.
So, but so I spent, we were on the flank. Luckily, I was on the flank. I was able to tie up both of their armies, but that's not a huge, deal. But I was helping them through the game and teaching them how to do things and kind of showing them how to do different things. And I think part of it is John was sitting right there on the other side of the table from me, listening to me help these guys through.
Right,
So
right.
I think that's kind of how I got the award, just by being nice to those guys.
Yeah.
And, I took their names down and I told them we were going to mention them on the podcast. And then I promptly lost the piece of paper that I wrote their names down on.
Bill.
So, guys, if you're out there, please
Hey, I think
email
they did
me.
say they were listeners too.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Man,
And I am sorry because I'm an idiot. So,
yeah, it happens. But you guys
So-
were really cool.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to play.
It was
Yeah.
a lot of fun to play that. Yeah, because it was like 3 objectives, like 3 big giant
Yeah.
towers, and
3
then you
crucibles and
Yeah.
You got battle points on however many you claimed, and that gave you possible reinforcement points if you gave
Right.
them away. It was a pretty cool overall experience.
it was a great setup.
If you'll
Great
notice, we've been talking about the narrative event for the last 20 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
how quiet James has been, even though he played in it.
What's that? I had an
He
extra fixes
talked
on my
about it.
side.
He talked about his right. He talked about his right flank. Hey, they killed a Larry. Oh no! I'm sorry. I think the play of the game, honestly, was that Empire player.
Oh, yeah. Alariel charged 30 handgunners and got shot off.
Oh,
yeah,
my
that
God.
that
Yes.
is amazing.
That
It's
was
just like
amazing.
like I heard that from the other side. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
So we were
what?
actually able to kill Alariel, Archaon, and Scarbrand.
Yes.
And a
Prime.
Glockin.
And a
Glockin,
Glockin.
And a
too.
prime or 2. We killed Glockin twice.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
We killed the prime, I think, once.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Twice. I mean, it was.
It was a bloody mess.
A lot of
Yeah.
death.
But
Yeah. My
That's
army
awesome.
died twice. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you kind of set yourself up as a target.
Yes, that was the point. I was the speed bump for all of you lovely ladies.
What else happened there towards the end of that game, Bill?
Well, I guess that day the Rob and Eddie wanted to stream a game of Age of Sigmar. And probably because we'd spent so long talking to them, Rob came up and said, "Hey, would you mind being on the live stream?" I said, "Well, golly, no, I'd love to, Rob." After I peed myself.
Are you sure it was P?
Yeah, well, yeah. And then he said, "Hey, are any of your mates here? You want to pick one?" So I turned around and looked at Elric and said, "Dude, want to play a live stream game?"
Yeah. So it was like only one of the most amazing things to ever happen.
Ever.
So yeah, we had to wrap up the narrative and jump over on the stream.
Yeah.
And man, that is
It's a different
so
experience.
Cool. It is so cool
Yeah.
to play on that. It's nerve wracking, and the whole time. So I know the Facehammer guys have talked about playing on the stream a
Yeah.
little bit and whatnot, but basically you're playing on the table. And then off a little ways is Rob and Eddie, so you can't hear.
Yeah, what they're
especially
saying.
there. To be fair, for having like 700-ish people in a hall at the
Yeah.
same time, it wasn't deafening. You
No,
could
it
still
was
hear
actually-
people, but we couldn't hear what Rob and Eddie were saying. Which
Right.
is a good thing because they're kibitzing the
They're
game.
yucking it up.
And then off in the other corner, you have Dan, who's the camera guy,
And
taking
running
care of all the
everything.
technical stuff. And then sitting right at the table with you with the computer is Nick,
Yeah.
who asks you basically everything you're doing,
Mhm.
and you have to explain everything you're doing to
Yeah.
him.
And he wants the name of the rule, how it works,
Yeah.
how you're using it.
So that he can send that to Rob and Eddie,
Mhm.
and make them look good.
Make it where they can commentate like throughout get a feel for the battle and
Yeah.
Right.
know what's going on and everything.
Yeah, it's what makes it an overall better presentation.
Yeah.
But
And of course, Nick is a great guy, too. He's
Oh,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
with a
awesome.
lot of fun and a lot of... he makes it interesting.
Yeah.
He was definitely giving my hopes up during my game because the Super Bowl was going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And, told me about halfway through the game it was 21-3, and I was jumping for joy.
Nice. So I took this opportunity to make a Mortal Realm political statement, as it were.
Yes, you
And I went over to the Forge World booth, and they were selling prints. And I bought a great big Fire Slayer one and was like, I wonder how much trouble I would get in if in the middle of this game I just waved this thing around in front of the camera for all my Get Started Fire Slayer peeps. And, but I figured I would ask real quick before. So I asked Dan, I said, hey, man, would it be okay if, just real quick, I flashed this thing on the screen? And he said, I'm not telling you no. If anybody asks, I don't know anything about it. And I said, okay, I'm totally doing it.
And you know what I thought was funny when I was watching the live stream game? At the beginning of the game, they kept saying that I was the guy that was loved Fire Slayers.
I haven't
And
watched
then
the
they
stream
corrected
yet.
themselves. It was funny. Oh,
man.
it was funny.
So, but overall, the game, it was a game.
Mm.
Bill
Slay it.
Bill slow played the ever loving crap out of me to the point where I think Rob and Eddie were running out of things to talk about.
Actually, if you watch the live, you actually do see Rob fall out of his chair twice because he's so exhausted.
That's true. He did keep falling out of his chair.
But you did forget to play the mission.
Oh yeah, I played like crap. I got 3 Places of Power mixed up with Border War
Yeah,
Mhm.
Border
or
War.
Blood and Glory, the one where you still retain
Kept the-
control of it
yeah.
even if you leave. Yeah, I just oops.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna win it anyways. You had me tied down pretty good, and
I was just trying to feed you units and let you... Because with a 20-man unit, don't need to feed you much. It's going to tie you up for a turn.
yeah.
So
So, but yeah, overall it was.
it was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and Bill and I are the first Americans to ever play on the live stream.
That's right.
So I know Tyler Mengel was on there, but he was just chatting. He
Yeah.
didn't get to play. So yeah,
We got that going for us.
that's a feather in the rolling bad cap.
Getting to watch it, I think the play of the game was where the War Chanter took out the zombie dragon or the vampire lord on zombie dragon and played the drums on his head, knocked him down.
Did
with
he?
the- yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yep.
It was all a haze of joy. Oh, and then in the narrative game, my War Chanter killed Scarbrand.
Yeah.
I guess I could give credit to the 13 wounds done by the Nurgle player
But
on my
Yeah.
side, but I did the last one.
really,
That's all that
The one
matters.
I took the head.
Yeah.
It's like, I got it.
So yeah, that was kind of our Friday.
And we got to meet a bunch of people,
Oh,
a bunch
yeah.
of
Mm.
listeners and stuff. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we
Got to
got
run into
to
a bunch of
catch
old
up with a
friends.
lot of the West Coast guys, Frank DeLoach and those guys.
Yeah.
We have more to say about Frank later. But
Yeah, that's true.
he was the man of the match, I think.
So that night, we ate
At Young King Street's dumplings and
Yeah.
noodle
House.
soup.
your stupid noodle house.
Oh,
Oh, that place! The food was amazing
No, it
for
wasn't.
everybody but Elric
Yeah.
because he ordered poorly.
I got a bowl of sadness.
yeah.
Bowl of god awful overpriced sadness.
He was like the Nazi in the
no soup for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, Seinfeld.
Indiana Jones is like you chose poorly.
Oh yeah, that one too. Saturday
Dawned.
dawned. It was game time.
It was
you know?
time to get it on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
time to wreck face.
I guess who wants to go through there? So I guess what we'll do is we'll just go through our Saturday and Sunday games, all 6 games,
Yeah.
one at a time.
Sounds good.
Well, I'll start since I'm the biggest loser here. So.
I don't know, Bill.
Oh, no,
Did
wait
you
a
see
minute.
the rankings?
No, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I mean, I could talk about my losses. But...
I did beat 2 people.
Yeah.
Come on, there's only. Oh no, that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
So the first game on Saturday, I drew Ben Moley as my opponent, and even Andrew came up to me and said, "I'm so sorry."
I was like, dude, do you know who you played? And he's like, no.
I hadn't even looked at the pairings.
I was like, before I looked at it, I was like, dude, you're playing Ben Moley.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, and you might not because you're a Sigmar person, Ben Moley is a pretty well-known 40K player, well-known because he beats face and wins everything.
He's played in the ETC American team.
Yeah.
That's gone several times.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
And he had a Corn Bloodbound, no, I'm sorry, not a Bloodbound. He had a Corn army that was fit and designed to crush. And my army was designed to play a few games. So, but actually, I have to say, it was one of my best games of the weekend. Ben is a great guy to play against. He is a lot of fun. He always gets kudos for being great to play against. And he really was. I mean, we had a great game, went all 5 rounds. And I mean, I think I pulled a couple of tricks on him he wasn't expecting, but he still had it pretty well in hand. I don't think he was ever in fear of losing.
Yeah, I was actually able to watch your game from my table because I was right behind you.
You were right behind.
Yeah, I was able to kind of look over my opponent to kind of see.
Well, I was kind of happy. I nailed all of his Marauders, and I nailed a bunch of the Bloodletters, but that left him with the Bloodthirster and everything that mattered, so it just didn't matter. But it was a fun game. So then my next game was up against Jared Swenson with his Forge Sworn Eternals, which was a heavily converted army done up as Stormcasts, but Dwarven Stormcast. It was a beautiful, beautiful army. One of the best conversion jobs I've seen. In fact, he got a painting nomination too, I believe, for his
won the award for best single unit.
Yeah, best single unit for the prosecutors because they were amazing. And he was a great guy to play against. He was on the path to tabling me in the biggest way possible, but he did manage to forget to guard his back to objectives. And of course, this was
it was
Taken Hold.
No, Blood and Glory.
Blood and Glory, which is where you have the 4 objectives. And if at the end of turn 3 you control all 4 objectives, guess what? You win. And I was able to summon in a unit of Harbingers on one objective, fly the Zombie Lord to the other one. I had all 4 objectives, and I snuck the win out from under him. So it was kind of dirty what I did, but it was still a win. And I wanted to get my 1-5 record, so I was happy. And then for my third game, another fantastic game. I played Josh Greenfield with his Flesh Eater Courts, and I actually learned I'd been considering doing Flesh Eater Courts all the way up till LVO, but I just didn't have enough time. And he convinced me with that Ghoul Patrol to I need to go full bore into that one. Such a great game. And the best part of it is during the whole game, we were talking about how to build the army and how to rebuild my army. So, I mean, it was absolutely fantastic game. Great opponent, great guy. Had a great time. So that was my Saturday.
So for my game on Saturday, game 1, table 1, I played
Yes.
Calvin Simmons. He was playing a mixed Scryer list. It wasn't, Storm Fiend spam or anything like that. I think he had unit Storm Fiends with all 3 different weapons on there. He had 2 Warp Lightning Cannons. Ooh. He had a couple of Doom Wheels and some stuff like that. And Scryer can pump out more wounds, so my tree men and my Darethrough were a little bit afraid, since they're susceptible to mortal wounds.
And very highly susceptible, I've
yes,
heard.
very.
What a shame.
Yeah.
So
the rage, it's
did
in you.
that. We played. That game was Taken Hold. It was pretty. I just kind of let him come to me. He really wasn't afraid of the forest that much, so he came towards me. Landed up turn 6. And then pushing for that last objective. Whew. I had about 3 or 4 different charges I needed to make. Because I didn't have... I think I lost 1 Dryad unit and only had a couple models left on the other one. So it's just... I had to get some Kurnoth Hunters, an Ancient, and a Darethrough into that objective. Because he had a big unit of... I think he had 30 Clannets on it. I had to kill all 30 of them and get all my units in. And luckily, I was able to pull it off last turn. last roll. So got the major in that one. Round 2, played Ryan Areola. He was playing a mixed destruction list with, it was Beastclaw Raiders, pretty much. It was 2 Huskards on Thunder Tusks, Frostlord on Stonehorn, and then a Cunning Ruck.
Ooh, good old Cunning Ruck.
Yeah, so this was one of the worst. Well, this was one of my lists that I wanted to play. I kind of had a plan going into it. I think it was one of my worst matchups, just because of the moral wound output from all the big
range.
monsters. I wasn't worried about the Cunning Ruck. I mean, my guys can, the Dirthu and the Tree Lord Ancient can just take that all day and not worry about it. But it was those monsters I was worried about. So I kind of executed on my plan. I wasn't playing for the win. I didn't think I could win it. So I was just hoping not to have a major loss in that game. Wound up, it was kind of close up until turn 6. When he took, I think I had, on turn 6, I had 3 of the 4 objectives, and then he shot off my guys with the one of the Thunder Tusks, and then shot the other objective with the Cunning Rock, and was able to clear off those 2. So he still ended up getting the minor victory of that one. Just due to, I think he had 3 objectives at that point. But I was able to take off a Stonehorn and a Thunder Tusk. So I was pretty happy about that. Game 3, I played Martin Orlando. And this was the best looking game that I played for the tournament. Because he was also another painting nomination army. He had a converted Bretonnian / Stormcast list. That was pretty sweet. This game was number 3. Was this Escalation? Yeah, this was Escalation. It was just a difference in power levels of the army. I mean, his was awesome paint jobs. I mean, he was getting into it. He even got into he even had the goblet. He had some Grail Knights and was doing For the Lady. He wanted, I was like, you don't have to. He's like, no, I want to do it. So
oh yeah,
he was really into his fluff part. So that's pretty sweet. We had a good game. I think I had taken 2 objectives with that list, and he'd pretty much just taken 1 objective in the corner. And by the end of turn 4, I think he didn't have much army left. I think he had a Fey Enchantress, small unit of what used to be Empire Swordsmen.
Great swords.
No.
Oh, just swords.
Militia.
Oh, okay.
With swords, and then and then he had 1 concussor that my tree man was just sitting there just slapping.
One concussor?
Well, he had 2 concussors.
Oh, okay.
I had eventually killed half the unit,
okay.
but the tree man ancient doesn't do a lot of damage output in those.
Yeah.
Concussors, whenever I get the stomp off, don't do
anything.
to the tree lord. So it's just we just sit there, kind of just making saves all day. I think we called that one turn. I won't say we called that turn 4 because I think he had some stuff to do and he figured he wasn't going to win. But I thought it was a pretty good game. Like I said, beautiful armies on the table, always a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So that was my day 1.
So my game 1 was against Matthew Brochu. I'm probably butchering that horribly because he's French Canadian, so it's probably Brocu or something. He was playing a mixed destruction list. He had a Cunning Ruck, had 2 Orc bosses on Wyverns. One was his general. A Grot Shaman, 2 big units of Moon Clan Grots, and one had 6 Fanatics in it. The other had 3.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was his list. I had never played against the Cunning Ruck before. This was the first time actually seeing it in the flesh, and it turns out it's a thing.
I hear there's a lot of wound output from bows and all that. They get to shoot multiple times a turn.
So in the last episode or the episode before, I talked about wanting to play Bone Splitters, and maybe talking about how maybe they'd gotten a bad rap being called a filth army and all this other stuff. And I talked to a couple of people on Twitter, like Domus and Relian, is it really as bad as people are making it out to be? And the general consensus was yes. I think I'll be casting my vote with that as well.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, it just, it was rough. I just got shot off the table. I didn't even, especially in a taken hold, he just could wrap his whole army around his objective. And it was he has Moon Clan up front loaded with enough fanatics that they can take off all my brutes, in one go. And then whatever doesn't die to that is just going to get shot off. And it was rough. So I lost that one. My second game was against Ken Onyebor. I hope I said that right. He was playing a Pure Bone Splitters army with 2 Cunning Rocks.
Oh, you're just luck of the draw, buddy.
So he had 100 Savage Auric archers in his list, cranking off 600 shots a turn. I lost this one.
You certainly
surprise.
Do you want to play statistical?
Certainly drew the short stick, didn't you?
It just, I mean, wow. So by the end of it, I was just like, I was understanding what everyone's general feeling towards that list. Why it is like that. Because by turn 2, I don't want to sound, well, whatever. I was hardly paying attention to the game anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it gets to a certain point where your opponent's rolling so many dice.
Yes.
And then re-rolling those dice. And then re-rolling those dice. And then re-rolling those dice that you don't really remember. Like, it's hard to follow.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you make them stop and explain what every die roll is and all that. And the game is already going to take forever because of it. And this is nothing against the guys. This was kind of like a funny thing where the lists I played against were a pain and not particularly fun to play against. But the guys playing them were really cool. Ken was a really, really fun guy to play a game with, and he was really interactive and talking and all that stuff. So I didn't have to worry about that. But ultimately, like when it got to to his hero phase and shooting phase, it was just brutal. Yeah. And I found myself like, there's a couple times where he would go through all this shooting, all this rolling, all these dice and be like, okay, make, 25 saves or whatever, and I'm saving on 4. So I pick up like half my unit. And then I look at it and I'm like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Now, we'll get to my turn and then I can do so. Oh, wait.
That was his
hero phase. We got to go through all this all over again here.
In this shooting phase.
I was just like, damn, man, this is brutal. Still a cool guy to play against. If I had a choice, probably would not want to play against that army again. It was kind of a non-game. Then my third game, this was a little disappointing in that I had to play Jules, which is always a good game, but I had to play a club mate.
Yeah, club member.
So, which, we figured with as many of us that went, statistically, one of us was more than likely going to have to play the other. And I'll take 1 game out of 6 as opposed to, I think Slobber Knocker was like almost all my games were against you guys.
Yeah. You played all 3 of us.
Yeah. So, so going into the, like James said, it was escalation. I think James has a disgusting death list. It's really, really good. Not anymore. If the point adjustment is canon. I've also played against it multiple times, right. So I kind of know what to do with it, everything. This game kind of broke me on the iron jaws, though. So he had 6 snakes up front that came at me. And he tooled him up, gave him Mystic Shield, gave him the pylon and attack twice, blah, 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 all that stuff. I attacked them with my unit of 20 brutes, who almost all got in. I put a couple on a wizard that was on a horse off to the side that I managed to pull into the combat. And then on the other flank, I hit the same unit of 6 snakes with 10 more brutes. So 30 brutes. Plus, I had War Chanters behind them. Plus, I had my Weird Knob Shaman hitting him, my 20-man with Mystic Shield. Plus the War Boss there to give him. Well, they already had the rerolls, so the War Boss was just for show.
You actually rolled that for once?
What?
The War Boss, the bonus, and didn't fail it?
No. He has an ability where if he's within like 5 inches of a knob or of a brute squad, they get to reroll 1s, which is good when you're not fighting stuff that has 4 or more wounds. But the snakes have 6 apiece, so I was getting rerolls anyways. It took 2 rounds of combat. I got the double turn. Took 2 rounds of combat with all of that. Essentially, the entirety of my army minus 1 10-man unit of brutes off to the side holding an objective. And my triumph, because James didn't finish my army. and I was down 80 points, which allowed me to reroll all my wounds on one of my attacks. So obviously on the 20 brutes, they used that. Took all of that, and I still barely killed 6 snakes.
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
yeah, it was at this point that I was like, I don't want to deal with this army anymore.
Yeah,
Just
like,
disheartening.
it's I mean, I'll save all this for later.
Yeah.
But I did manage to win that. It was a major win. Congrats to me. I beat an 11-year-old at Warhammer. So
That you've played several times before.
Yeah, that I've already beaten before. Who has also beaten me, but so that was my day one. Andrew?
All right. So game 1, taken hold. I played a lady of the name Donna Fierhelm. She was playing Khorne Demons with the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster. Is that it?
The one that allows you to reroll charges?
No, it's the one that allows you to charge or run and charge.
Not Insensate
Unbridled
Rage,
Fury?
That's
I don't
Unbridled
know.
Fury.
The one with I don't know. It's the guy with the 2-handed axe.
Yeah.
Not that one. It's the one with the whip and she like breathes the fury.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No. I wanted to take the one with the double-handed axe, but that one is better. It's
Yeah, because
probably the
you
best
can
one.
run and charge, so you don't get tied up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she ran that, and I think 2 units of 10 bloodletters, some Khorne fleshhounds, like 3 units of the blood crushers, and a demon prince. I think that might have been it. There might have been a little bit more. I can't remember off the top of my head. I finished that up and let her go first, and she moved forward. I kind of held back a little bit, shot off some pieces with all of my shooting. My army kind of relies heavily on its sideboard. It's like swapping units in and out. It can come off a little confusing if you look at the list at first. But so I turn 1, killed a decent amount, and we rolled for initiative. It looked like it was going heavily towards my favor with just the amount of stuff I was able to kill turn 1. We rolled off for initiative. She seems like very new to the game. Really nice lady. Enjoyed the game. I was helping her throughout the whole game with a lot of her rules because, like, obviously she was still new to the army from what she was telling me. And I rolled for the initiative. I let her take the initiative because I didn't want her first game in the tournament to be a bad experience.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what, I could just totally charge through her, but I want this to be an enjoyable game for her. So we went to, I think, turn 3. By then, she had killed quite a decent amount of my stuff. But by turn 3, I was able to table her and take both objectives because at the end of taking hold, you take both of the objectives, you win overall.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good game. Definitely enjoyed it. She was a good opponent and fun to play against. She told me later on she actually had a great experience with the whole tournament. So that's good.
Cool.
Round 2, I played a gentleman of the name Tyler Amoy. He was running Stormcast Eternals. It was a Warrior Brotherhood. Your typical double Azeros list with 10 Retributors. He swapped for the sideboard and put Decimators in instead of the Protectors because he felt like they'd be a lot better off against me. So I used my sideboard to make it where I had 4 units of 5 Liberators instead of 2 units of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want my 1 unit to be blasted away by Battle Shock by Paladins, deep striking my face.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, he let me go first, and he had just a Night Venator was his extra points on the table. And I did my little turtle because my army is allowed to do that, and I actually ran my 2 Gryph-hounds in this version of the army. Put him on the opposite sides, and he obviously didn't want to come in and get totally shot off the table. So, turn 1, I said, okay. I take my turn 1, go to my hero phase, do all my abilities, and said, okay, go. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, he's like, I'm just going to wait for you to drop in and see how it goes. So, he's like, all right. His turn 2, he drops down, because he was actually able to kill the Gryph-hounds turn 1, because he went second. So, I'll note that in none of my games did I ever win the initiative for the exception of my first game.
Oh, wow.
So, he went for the double turn and dropped down, put the paladins all up in my face. The way I spread out with the liberators, he was actually only able to kill 3 from one, 2 from another, 2 from another, and 3 from the so it was a total of 10 liberators, but from 4 separate units.
Yeah.
And they all passed their battle shock, so I ran them away on my turn. Because he didn't really have anything left to do on his turn, proceeded to charge into him with my paladins and my fulminators on the left flank, while tying him up in the middle because he spread out his unit all the way across with the Starsoul Maces on the outsides. I put my Mistweaver Sai in the middle, who has a 1+ save in combat. So I basically tied him up in that combat so he couldn't charge out. I was able to kill all but 2 of the Retributors on the left flank. It was really heavy battle going back and forth, but about turn 3 is when it really switched up. He didn't have much left at all, and turn 4 is when I lightning striked my Vexilor ability, my paladins out to the right flank, and was claiming 3 objectives, but sadly you have to control all 4, and it was Border Patrol, is that what it was? No, Blood and Glory? Blood and Glory is the 4 where you have to control all 4. And I missed the top right one, so I couldn't claim that one overall. And it went down to a minor win. I was able to kill all but his Knight, Venator, and a unit of Liberators in the top right corner, as well as 1 in the top left, but I just had more models. So minor win with that one. And then in my third game, I played a gentleman by the name of Zach Lopez in a game of Escalation. He was running Nurgle Rotbringers. He had a load of Blight Kings, which sadly is not very effective against my army at all because my battalion allows me to re-roll the saves for the units in the battalion. I was able to kind of just press the middle objective and the right objective and just kind of ignore the left one because he committed some Storm Fiends over there because he also had Bone Ripper and some Skaven with some Storm Fiends with the Gatling guns.
Oh yeah, the Rattling Cannons.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool to see some Storm Fiends outside the typical Warp Flame gauntlets. So
probably would have been better off taking the Warp Flame, though.
Well, he never would have gotten in range because he had him.
Because
he didn't have the scry to be able to teleport him in or to tunnel him in or anything.
Or Sal.
He wasn't running Saul the Faithless to launch them into my lines. But I just left him alone on the left one. I sent some fulminators over there just kind of tie him up just so he wouldn't come out. I basically pushed my entire army over the middle objective and the right one and let my ability to just do wounds over time with mortal wounds and shooting. I actually killed Bone Ripper in 1 volley with the 3 units of prosecutors.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah, he had 13 wounds and all 9 of my prosecutors just launched their javelins at them and the tridents. And he didn't roll. He was not rolling very well in that game at all, but it was a great game. Ended up being a major win. I think the total points was, I want to say, 8-3. 8-4. It was definitely an enjoyable game. Good guy. Felt a little bad throughout the game because he really wasn't killing much just because of the way my army works and he had no rend or mortal wound output whatsoever. Yeah. So, but that was my day 1.
Sweet. So that was how we wrapped up day 1, all of our games. And then after day 1 was over, where did we go eat that night?
That
was buffet
French,
night.
Yeah, the French buffet.
That
which
was good.
Yeah, probably the best meal we had. Super expensive.
Pricey, but again, it's a buffet.
Person.
You eat whatever you want. So that was kind of fun.
And then there was also the night that we went back to Ryan's hotel room and just hung out. Oh, so another important person that we met, which was super fun and cool, was Tony P.
Yeah.
From Scroll Builder.
Scrollbuilder.com.
Him and his buddy Joseph.
Yeah. Super cool guy. So we invited him up to have beers and we all just hung out and talked. That was awesome because we had tried to hang out the night before, Friday night, and put out the call on Twitter if anybody wanted to hang out with us. And we sat at a bar with a couple of guys that decided that the only way to do a cover of a Bon Jovi song was at a volume so loud it
you couldn't tell.
Had to
They
yell
couldn't
just
sing.
to hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I was right next to you yelling in your ear and you couldn't even hear me.
Yeah.
It was rough.
It was tough.
Didn't work out. So we figured from then on we'd just hang out in hotel rooms and
Yep.
stuff. And that was pretty cool. So,
Turns out Tony P's not only a really cool programmer, but he's a really cool guy.
yeah.
And actually a great Seraphon player.
yeah, he can win with Seraphon there, Bill.
We're going to get into that on day 1 tomorrow, or game 1 tomorrow.
Yeah. So day 2, Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, so day 2, Sunday of the tournament dawned bright and clear. And just to recap real quick, I just want to mention that my wife also played 3 games on Saturday. And I just want to thank all of her opponents because they didn't make her feel stupid, seeing as these were her first 3 games of AOS. Not with this army, but of AOS. First full 2,000 point games. And she got 3 good games. I think she played Tony P.
Yeah, Tony was her
Yeah.
first game.
Yeah, and
That's
he
a
didn't
great
make her
start.
feel bad, even though he might have been a little bored at times, for which I
Hey.
apologize, Tony. But yeah, she was getting it. So my first game on day 2 was against Aaron Johnson. And I think a couple of people were interested in this, including Tony, because I played against a Seraphon army. You know, the people who are literally unplayable in match play.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, let's just say later that day, I ordered a big plate of crow and sucked it all down. Because I got beat. Boy, did I get beat. It was the guy's name was Aaron Johnson. He was there with his son, and he played a really great game. He had the 2 Bastillodons, the chariots, with the laser beams, and they proceeded to laser beam me off the table. So it was a lot of fun. He had a lot of cavalry in that one. He was using the formation, the cavalry formation, which lets him do all the good stuff when they charge. And he was sitting there telling me, I've never gotten these charges off before. I've never gotten the 6s to get the extra wounds. I'm doing it to you all the time.
That's what she said.
So, yeah, it was a great game. It was a great, fun opponent, and I got schooled by Seraphon. So
So you
what
can
I'm
go
going to
back
say
to-
now is death is literally unplayable.
Oh.
in match.
You gonna go back to Seraphon there, buddy?
Yeah, I'll go back to Seraphon right
Oh,
now.
get out of here.
You got schooled by
Yeah.
Telling us this, and we're looking at freaking $5,000 worth of Zinch
Yeah.
and shrink wrap in front of me.
It's
Get
never gonna be
outta
opened.
here.
Okay, I cried wolf. My bad. So I definitely lost that game to Aaron. It was a fun game. We had a good time, I think. My next game was against Frank Sevilla with his Daughters of Cain. That's not Daughters of Corn. Daughters of Cain army, which was beautifully painted. It was a really, really nice army. I felt out of place on the table with him. Found out that those witch elves and all those other things, they hit really, really hard. And then they die really, really fast. Because
That they do.
can't stand up to it.
You can pile in like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah, they get the double pile in. One of the units gets the double pile in. And so he was able to do damage to me. But my return strikes with the Vampire Lord and the Terrorgeist were just tearing through his ranks because he had nothing to save him from just the wound output.
Yeah.
So I
Nice.
actually managed to win out of that game. So that was my second win, which actually doubled my prediction because I said I was going to go 1-5 and I went 2-4. So I was I'm not happy I beat him. I was just happy I won. So, but it was a fun game. It was a good game. There's a lot of movement, a lot of moving around and trying to catch stuff. So it was a good game. But then came really my best game of the tournament, which was game 6. And I played Arturo Gonzalez with his Beast Claw Raider army. This was the list I was terrified of that I might end up hitting during the tournament. And I did. I tell you, between the 2 of us, Art and myself, we had such a blast that game. It was just pure, straight fun. I had been playing kind of defensive with my army the whole time. I figured going up against Beast Claw, you just got to go after them. You can't hang back and let them do their thing to you. So we just smashed it into each other and just crushed. And it was bloody. Every turn was bloody for both sides. I actually managed to take out one of the Thunder Tusks, put some hurt on the Stonehorn, but not nearly enough. But took out a lot of his extraneous stuff. But he ended up getting the definite win on that one. This was a gift from the heavens. And so he was able to he parked the Stonehorn on on his Comet and then just came after mine. And it was a great beat down fight in the middle. Well, actually on the edge, but it was a fun game we were playing. It was the best game I had all weekend. It was a lot of fun. Even though I lost, it was a ton of fun. Great opponent. I want to thank you again, Arturo. That was a blast of a game. So my tournament wrapped up with me going 2-4 and finishing 53rd. So I was dragging the whole club down. I apologize, guys.
So day 2 for me. So for game 4 on day 2, I landed playing Border War. My opponent was Garrett Mulroney. Spoiler alert, the ITC champion that we found out later, and he's the creator of the Best Coast app for iOS.
Yeah.
He was playing a Khorne Bloodbound list, taking Blood Warriors for Battle Line, big unit of 30 Blood Reavers, and then a huge unit of 15 Skull Reapers, which are pretty tough. The only thing I was really super worried about was the Skull Reapers. I kind of baited them onto my left side of the board with my Durthu, put him there. So he put his Skull Reapers there.
Come into my woods, little boy.
Yeah, and then as soon as my turn 1, he kind of went, peace out.
Feigning him in, huh?
And kind of teleported to the other side of the board.
Yeah.
He didn't want any of that.
Psych.
So, landed up doing Sylvaneth thing. He came down on my left side pretty hard with a unit of Blood Warriors and Skull Reapers and landed up killing 2 units of Kurnoth Hunters and pretty quickly. I think it took him a couple turns to do, but he landed up killing them. While Durthu kind of just, after he teleported, he kind of just marched up the center of the board there towards his back objective. And by about, I want to say turn 2, I had him in there. So he was starting to kill some Blood Reavers around turn 2. And by turn 3, I had teleported the Tree Revenants in on the back side of his board.
Oh boy.
Got into those Blood Reavers with them. Between them and the Durthu, was able to do clean up that unit of 30 Blood Reavers, claim his objective. And by this time I had killed a lot of his corn stuff, so he didn't have too much left, I want to say. That was the end of turn 3 that I had his objective. Rolled priority, got priority on turn 4. And that was pretty much, I think we called it there. We kind of worked through the math that I don't think he was going to be able to come back from that with me having his back objective 2 turns in a row like that.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, that is a lot of points. So we called it there at the end of turn, or beginning of turn 4.
Yeah.
And it was a really super tight game. Really enjoyed it. I think he was a little bit hungover. I think he got there just as the game started, technically. He was a little bit frazzled and hungover, so but it was a really tight game. He knew what he was doing. He knew Sylvaneth. The night before I had looked at the Bloodbound rules, so I knew what his units did. And it was just a tight, quick game. We were going through it, and so that was one of those things I really appreciated.
Yeah, that's something we ought to mention is that the nice part about this one is the pairings for the first game on Sunday came out Saturday, so you could kind of get a look at your next game.
Yeah.
Well, you all did.
Oh.
So that was a pretty nice game. Landed up getting a major victory in that one. Game 5 was 3 Places of Power. I was playing a Flesh Eater Court list. I was playing Bill Souza, I think that's how you say it. He was playing a Flesh Eater Courts list. This one I landed up losing. Major loss. I think my setup in the beginning of this was pretty poor because I think I was being overconfident about facing the Flesh Eater Courts. Won't make that mistake again. So, he got into the objectives, able to pretty much, I think he was controlling 2 of the objectives. And I had some chances around turn 2 or 3 to turn around, but we were playing the game pretty fast, and it just skipped my brain that my 3-Lord Ancient could create a wood, and so I could get onto that far objective on the right, and it just passed me for 2 turns. And by the time I came around to remembering it was already turn 4, and too late. He was already ahead. My bad. So that was game 4. And
Game
then
5.
That was 5.
Game 5. Sorry, game 5. And then game 6 was Gift from the Heavens. We were just, if anyone hasn't caught on, we were just playing scenario 1 through 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, directly
In an
from
order.
the book.
In order.
So round 6 was probably, Elg probably enjoyed it because Sylvaneth was going to lose. It was a Sylvaneth off
No matter what.
against Ben Cromwell from 40K Converts.
Yeah.
It was pretty much a mirror match list. I think we had the exact same units. I think he had a unit of 6 Karnoth Hunters as opposed to, with size instead of opposed to my 2 units of 3. The items on his characters were a little bit different too. Each of them had the -1 to hit instead of the
+1 save.
+1 save.
Is it -1 to hit in combat, or is it just
-1
always...
to hit.
That's pretty tasty.
It is. I've looked at it and I've seen it and I've considered trying it out. He was telling me he takes it to help against things like Retributors. And,
Right.
they're not doing their extra damage on 6s and stuff like that.
That sounds like something that revolves around more of a meta thing.
It possibly could. I mean, but the Tree Lord Ancient's already doing a stomp. So you got a 50-50 chance of already making the -1 anyway. So it's one of those, like, I don't think there's a right choice necessarily in that.
Or there's a wrong choice.
I don't think there's a wrong choice.
Right.
I think we all know there's a right choice when it comes to James and the stomps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of the few games where his dice were horrible. Horrible. He cannot.
Really?
Yeah, he can wound or make saves to save his life. I think he said that he had not made a single priority the whole tournament.
That's right.
Except for once in one game, and it was like turn 5 or something like that. One really didn't
matter.
It didn't matter. He was already ahead or something like that. So I think it just goes to prove that, because this. So I went first in all my games, and this was pretty much I went first. He went first. It was just like a regular turn order, and I think in this instance he really did need the double turn to try to pull ahead, because I think around in turn 3, by turn 3, his had come down in the middle of the board, and mine had come down on the left side of my board. And turn 3, I had pretty much pushed up my Durthu to get within 6 inches of his objective, and he pretty much sent his whole army into it. Well, I think by this time I had already killed his Durthu.
Oh boy!
And his Tree Lord Agent was tied up with my Karnoth Hunters, so he sent all his bow guys and some other stuff into there, and couldn't get the job done with Durthu sitting on I think he was sitting on a 1-up save.
Oh boy!
And he couldn't get the job done. Landed up denying him his points from round 3. And so I was kind of ahead at that point. And by the end of it, he just wasn't able to get down to my objective to stop me from claiming it. And we played all 5 turns. Very interesting. I'd kind of prepared for Sylvaneth on Sylvaneth after watching the Warlords game.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I knew to do Awakening in the Woods, because that hurts enemy models as opposed to just anything but Sylvaneth. So that was some of the spells I could use, and I kind of let him be aggressive in this game too, just because like I said before, I think Sylvaneth is a very defensive army.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he sent in his 6 unit of Karnoth Hunters into my 3 in the woods. I think he was able to get, I want to say most of that. He got 5 or 6 of those guys into attack, and he was able to kill 2 of them. But then my one was able to turn around and kill 2 of his hunters.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like some James rolling.
No, I mean, he's saving on 6s, and I'm saving on a 5-up with a reroll.
That's true.
So I mean,
and that's all you need is 5-ups.
5-up
so
with
sounds
a,
like James rolling.
So yeah, so I mean, I let him be a little bit of the aggressive side, and I think that's where he kind of lost it too.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty good game. We played out the turn 5, landed up getting a major victory, which put me at 4 major victories, minor loss, and a major loss. And then I had the painting nomination, which gave me another
minor win. Right?
Minor win.
Nice.
So that bumped me up. We'll talk about results afterwards, but
yeah,
that bumped me up a little bit. And all my games were pretty fun. My opponents were great. I think I landed up giving my favorite opponent to the first guy, to Calvin, because that game was just, it was dicey. He was having good rolls. I was having, it was just like, we were cheering for each other and stuff. It was pretty fun. So,
nice. You want to recap Jules' games real quick?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who he played. I know he went 2-4. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
1-2, lost 4. But he had a really great time. I know I had a couple of his opponents come up. I had actually 3 of his 6 opponents come up to me afterwards and be like, "Your kid's on point. He knows his army. He knows what he's doing." I think when you come to a tournament, you're like, especially since he's a little bit on the small side, he might not look his age necessarily.
Yeah, no, he does.
No, he
for
acts
sure.
a lot.
But
over
he
his
acts-
And
looks.
he's pretty soft spoken.
And he's pretty
Yeah.
soft spoken, yeah. So I mean, they like, I don't know if they were just apprehensive about playing a kid, in a grand tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, but they came up to me afterwards and were like, this kid's on point. He knows his army. He's in the game. He's paying attention.
Yeah.
He's there. He knows exactly what he's doing. Great job. I think even John came up and gave him a compliment. I think that's just power to the game, that the game's that accessible that someone that
Sure.
young can pick it up, and if they want to, they can
be successful.
be
at it.
successful at it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, my game 4 was against a guy named Michael Fox, and he was running a mixed Sylvaneth and Wanderers list. I know so many people were hoping that I would have to play Sylvaneth 6 games in a row. But
I was one of them.
this
I
was
wonder why.
this was the closest it got.
I talked to John.
Yeah.
Couldn't pull it off.
Yeah. So it was actually a really interesting list. He had a Tree Lord Ancient, 30 Dryads, 3 Kurnoth Hunters with bows, 20 Deepwood Rangers, 5 Sisters of the Thorn, 2 3-man units of Way Watchers, a Way Watcher character, and 2 other Wanderer characters, or a Wanderer character and a Branch Witch or Wraith or one of those ones. So his battle plan was basically to hit the 30 Dryads with Mystic Shield and Shield of Thorns and park them in front of my army so that I had to deal with them. And that was pretty rough. I think I did more damage to myself than to him, trying to get those damn Dryads out of the way. Punked the Tree Lord Ancient with like 4 brutes. Just targeted him with like 4 brutes, and they just tore him down because he didn't have the +1 armor.
Yeah,
Because he's
yeah.
not Sylvaneth, so he doesn't
Yes.
get the
Yeah.
Sylvaneth
Right.
abilities. It was really good game. The Deepwood Rangers got stuck in on 10 brutes and almost killed them all before I killed the Deepwood Rangers. Pretty choppy elf unit, but fragile and expensive. 200, I think they're like 200 points for 10 of them. But really, it was just the Dryads doing the work. And the fact that Ironjaws can't kill Kurnoth Hunters in a forest. It's ridiculous. He ended up winning this game. It was a really good game. I killed quite a bit of the Sylvaneth, which made me feel good. So, my 5th game was against Wiley Kenyon, and he was playing a Wall O Nurgle that had 30 Plague Bearers, 6 Plague Drones, the Glotkin, the Nurgle character on a horse, I forget what, like a Nurgle Lord or something, who was really good, or his command ability is really good. Then he had, a Great Unclean One, the actual Great Unclean One, which is easy to forget because he's so tiny now. And that's pretty much it, something like that. This one, so this was 3 places of power. And I played 3 places of power again the way I had played it on the stream and took my characters off the objective.
Oh,
The whole beginning of the game, I told myself, you can't do that in this one. That's not how this objective works. And I did it anyways. Like a moron. So, yeah, he won, even though the only thing he had left on the table was a Great Unclean One. And then my game 6 was against Fred Reed, who was playing Skaven. This was Gift from the Heavens. His list was 3 units of 40 clan rats, a unit of 20 storm vermin, 2 units of 3 Warplock Jezzails, a warlord, a whatever the wizard is that Ikit Claw became, Warplock Engineer, I think. or
Warplock
something.
Engineer, yeah, that's it.
5 rats, giant rats, 5 gutter runners, a warp lightning cannon, and a Skaven standard bearer.
Ooh.
So the 120 clan rats and
God.
20 storm vermin are essentially fearless.
Yeah.
And when we deployed, he set them up about 4 ranks deep all the way across his table edge.
Yeah.
And put the banner behind him. And so I put my army
Come at
down.
me, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't do anything my first turn. He didn't do anything his first turn. Waited for the comets to drop. And, of course, his dropped directly in the middle behind everything.
Isn't that handy?
And so I thought to myself, well, I can either just stand back and take a draw,
Mm-hmm.
or, seeing as how we're not exactly playing on the table one,
Mm-hmm.
I can try to make a game of it. And so that's what I did. I charged my 20-man and one of my 10-man units across, got into them in like one round, and then proceeded for the next 4 turns to try to kill my way through essentially 140 rats, while they're all getting like 3 attacks apiece back, hitting me almost as well as I'm hitting them, and then also hitting me with magic and mortal wounds from all the shooting. So I lost. And it was a complete non-game. Like,
Yeah.
there was just no way that I was ever going to get through it.
Not with the warp
Just
lightning and the
'cause-
Giselles being so
Yeah.
protected.
I think it's mainly because your Iron Jaws have no range capability whatsoever. and
Yeah,
you can't
if
get
I
to
had
standard
any
bearer.
kind of shooting, I could have killed the banner bearer and it would have been a game.
Yeah.
But because I have 0 shooting in my army, it was dumb. You know?
Yeah.
You can just
Yeah.
hide them in the middle and make
Right.
them where you can never get to them and just out attrition you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then kind of what made the game even more frustrating is not only was it essentially a non-game, but if you're gonna play a game of Warhammer, don't sit on your phone the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You know, there was a couple times where I would start rolling my attacks and say, okay, well, the brutes are attacking this unit of clan rats. Roll out all the damage and everything and say, okay, that's, 9 wounds on that unit of clan rats. And he would just randomly start grabbing rats off the table. It's like, no, from this unit.
Mm.
So yeah, that was also frustrating. But whatever. Yeah, so he got a minor win off of me on that. So I went 1-5, essentially, and the only game I won was against an 11-year-old. So
Good job. Want a golf clap?
yeah.
Uh,
What do you want to say,
No,
James?
I think you're
I'll bring it up in results. at the
Okay.
end.
Yeah.
So why don't we let Andrew get through his games and then we'll all vent. Yeah.
So I actually forgot to touch on my army, mentioning the first day one. So my army is a little tricky for, it can seem people can be very skeptical looking at the army in general.
Yeah, apparently it sucks.
Yeah, it's a horrible
According to the
list. But no, it relies heavily on the sideboard because there's a lot of switching out because against certain opponents, like say Warrior Brotherhood or the possibility of Scry, just depending on the opponent, I need to switch out like the Liberators to increase the 2 units in the battalion to a 10-man squad, or to make it where I have 4 or 5-man depending on the opponent. Also have the Heralder, for the awesome Sylvaneth player to toot my horn and spam
Make
mortal
his
wounds
wounds
all over
hurt.
their backfield. Also, the Gryph-hounds always play a big role. So my list is a Lord Celestant, obviously with Reckless and Relic Blade. The Lord Castellant that goes into the Wardens of the Realm Gate Battalion. The Knight Vexilor with the Pennant of the Stormbringer. A Knight Venator. A Lord Relictor. Mistweaver Sai, and then the units are 1 unit of 10 Paladin Protectors with 4-star Soul Maces, 2 units of 5 Liberators with shields and warhammers, with 1 Grand Hammer in each, 1 unit of Adjudicators with a Skybolt Bow and a Shockbolt Bow, then 2 units of Prosecutors with Stormcall Javelins, 2 Gryph-hounds, and a unit of Fulminators, because Fulminators are awesome. In the sideboard, I had a Knight Naziros, a Knight Heralder, 2 units of 5 Liberators, and a unit of Prosecutors with Javelins. In most average games, I'd always take out the Venator, the Relictor, and the 2 Gryph-hounds, which would swap perfectly for the 2 units of Liberators and the Prosecutors, giving me 3 units of Prosecutors and 2 units of 10 Liberators. So that's to touch on my list. So going into round 4, day 2, we started off with, it was Border War, right?
Go Patrol!
Yeah. I played against a gentleman named Adam Stein. He was playing a Larial Sylvaneth, which I actually have to give a big kudos out to clubmate James for constantly spamming Sylvaneth down my throat for the last 6 months. Definitely gave me an edge to play against Sylvaneth, learning all the ins and outs against them. I felt very confident playing against most Sylvaneth lists with my list because they have no mortal wound output outside of their woods, and just you got to pick your battles. So he was running a Larial, a Tree Lord Ancient with the Oaken Armor, 3 units of Kurnoth Hunters, 1 with bows, 2 with scythes, and then 1 unit, or is it 1? Yeah, 1 unit of Tree Revenants, and then 2 units of Dryads. Obviously, Sylvaneth always pretty much gets the first turn, or gets to choose anyway. So naturally, they always want to go first to lay down the woods. And it makes me a very happy person, because I enjoy going second for the possibility of going for a double turn.
Sure.
I don't know what a double turn is, but apparently they're good.
Heard they're good, right?
Yeah. I don't know what winning in priority roll is about. It's all full. We started off the game, and he moved forward, and I was able to use the Realm Gate to teleport my Fulminators behind his lines, and as well as the Paladins, because he moved far forward enough after I shot off his Druids in turn 1. It went to turn 2, my apology. I teleported back there and charged a Larial and the Tree Lord Ancient, and was able to kill them because he failed his Mystic Shield on a Larial.
Oh, man.
I put all the swords on a Larial and the Star Soul Maces on the Ancient, with the Fulminators on top of the Larial. His rolls were about average, but with the amount of damage I did through, Fulminators and a couple of good rolls from some Dracoths, rolling 6s I hear is good.
Yeah.
James does it to me all the time. But I was able to take both of those off turn 2, and it basically became kind of just a steamroll. He was very good about it, great opponent, didn't feel defeated, made it a great game. We played it out to turn 4, but by then I think it was, because I think by turn 2 it was already 10-2, or no, 10-3. And we called it on turn 4 because he wanted to at least play a couple of things out to see how they would work.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a good game. He had a great time. Army was beautifully painted. He actually told me Kenny Boucher painted his army.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a beautiful army. The Larial, I think, was one of the nominated ones for monsters outside the one that I think was Bone Ripper.
Oh, the Beast of Legend?
Yeah. So on to game 5, going on strong with 3 major wins and a minor win. I end up against Ben Mully in 3 Places of Power. So a while back, he was on the Frontline Gaming podcast, and I heard he went to AOS and was going to the LVO. So I was super psyched and was hoping I would actually get to play him. And here I am on round 5, playing him in 3 Places of Power. He's playing, I'm sure Bill touched on it earlier, he's actually playing 2 units of 30 Bloodletters, a unit of 30 Marauders, the Greater Demon of Khorne with the 2-handed axe, who's his general with a +1 attack for the item. He was running 3 Bloodsecrators.
Yeah.
A unit of Wrathmongers. I think he had something else, but he swapped it out from his sideboard to play the Changeling in our mission.
Yeah.
So, me knowing that he's playing the Changeling, because that was the first thing he swapped out for, because he won the roll for sideboard, I go for my Knight of Zeros in my sideboard. Because I have a cunning plan, because I actually planned this out a while back, because I hate Saul the Faithless, who he also had.
Yeah, he had Saul.
So he can launch those 30 freaking Bloodletters and do so many mortal wounds on like 4 pluses if he rolls right, which is crazy.
That's what he did to me.
Yeah, I was just like, like he told me, I looked at it, I was like, wow, you can do that much. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to play this out right. And he gets the first, or no, I finished setting up first, let him take the first turn. He moves forward a little bit, and he launches the Changeling out to the middle objective. Which actually made me really excited, because I had a cunning plan. So he basically just kind of did his hero phase, buffed his units, planted all 3 of his secretors. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. So I take my turn 1. I do my Vexillor bomb with my zeros right next to the Changeling, because you can land right next to him, immediately revealing him. And he was actually barely maybe 4 inches away from, maybe 3.5, 4 inches away from his entire front line. So the Thunderstrike from the Vexillor's ability hit almost every unit within 6, including the Changeling, doing multiple wounds, D3 with everything. And then shining my Lantern that does D6 against Chaos with everything within 8 inches, wiping out the Changeling. Nice. Which he did not expect this coming at all, because I can see anybody else having a great plan with the Changeling in 3 places of power, because it's really hard to get close to him. Yeah. Because if you do, then he can just countercharge you with the Bloodletters. But immediately killing the Changeling and actually taking out maybe, I think, with the combination, I did well over 30, like 35 mortal wounds. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I also sent the Fulminators to the back edge of the table to make it where I could tie up the Bloodletter unit by just grabbing 1 model into the hand within 3 inches to make it where he couldn't, because he took the Greater Demon of Khorne that gives reroll a charge and not run in charge, only where you can't retreat and stuff. So I was like, okay, this is going to be the plan that I got to go with, because I can take on 1 at a time pretty like confidently. 2 at a time will be pretty tough, especially with Assault the Faithless and launching him out there. Yeah. I also launch my Venator for a possible, star-fated arrow right at Saul the Faithless. I hit. I wound. He fails. Oh. And what do I roll? A 1. Oh. So I did 4 wounds to Saul the Faithless, leaving him, I think, with 2 left. And I was like, okay. So it changes the idea a little bit with the Fulminators. So I had to charge them to try and kill Saul the Faithless, as well as tie up the Bloodletters. I end up wounding, but he makes 3 saves on a 6+. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. Dang. Okay. I actually did a lot of damage in the shooting phase to 1 Bloodletter unit. He killed off 1 of the Fulminators, but they basically are doing their job by keeping the 1 Bloodletter unit back. Mm-hmm. Turn 2, he gets the initiative, or the priority. But at the end of turn 1, it was 2-1, because I had sent a character, the Venator, to one side, and no, it was 1-1. It was 1-1. And just as a sacrificial lamb on the right side. So then he takes his turn, charges up the left flank. He actually fails the Saul the Faithless jump, like his flying, because he was going to try and send something at me, but he failed the roll to get it off. I built up a giant Liberator wall, and he charged the left flank and myrtleized 5 Obliterators in a charge with, I think it was like 20 plus Bloodletters left from the unit. And he decimated the Venator with 5 Wrathmongers. Ooh. Well, it kind of helps when they have 7 attacks each.
Yeah, they're
I do my countercharge with my Paladins. I'm able to kill off the entire Bloodletter unit, as well as the Fleshhounds that were on the left flank that helped charge. And I was able to, again, claim both the outside objectives with a Lord Castellan and my Knight Vexillor, with my my Liberators, my 10-man unit, countercharging the Wrathmongers. But I left enough room to where the Vexillor could claim the objective. So at the end of turn 2, it was 3-1. Beginning of his turn 3... he flies over the Bloodthirster and charges into my Paladins. I think he's killed a couple by now, but with me constantly buffing him with Mystic Shield and the Lord Castellan, they're extremely resilient on a 2-up re-rolling because of the formation rules. I think around turn 4, he started to realize, or just turn 3, he was believing it was turning towards my favor heavily, but he made a great effort for it. It was a great game. It kind of kept going just my way throughout the game. He couldn't get to either of the characters on the outsides, and it ended up being 8-2. My Lord Castellan almost pulled a fluff kill against the Bloodthirster, which would have been awesome. He charged with 5 attacks with his blade, and I gave him the relic blade to do 2 damage. Sure. I hit with 4, wound with 3. And realized maybe I could have used my Triumph, which I forgot. Wounded 3 times, and he had 5 wounds left, and he saved 1 of them. But then I had to hammer 3 attacks. Hit twice. Again, forgot my triumph because it would matter for the model. All his wounds to reroll. Forgot about that. I hit all 3 times. Wounded once. Rolls a 4+. And then he proceeds to decimate the Lord Castellan, Lord Celestin into the ground. But that pretty much ended the game right around there. We still played. He actually was the first person to kill the entire Paladin unit, which I gave him super mad kudos to. It was an amazing game. He was a great guy, great opponent. But yeah, so major win for round 5 and 3 places of power. Going on to round 6, going into the top tables.
Where did you play that game?
I played that game on the live table, which after kind of watching Elric and Bill playing on it, I can kind of realize there's a little bit of stress, like just like you get the butterflies in your stomach because you're playing in front of possible thousands of people. Meanwhile, I'm actually, because apparently they already noted the name like that I was playing on it, my phone starts spamming me.
Yeah.
Got friends that are texting me and everything. I'm just like, holy crap. I barely glanced at it once. You definitely get a feel for the nerves playing on there, and especially having to communicate the entire game to Nick. I actually played against a gentleman called, I think he was friends with Elric's first round opponent. His name was Olivier Gando, but he was playing Sylvaneth. And the only thing that outside a normal Sylvaneth army he was playing that I'm used to, like James, was Treekin, which I didn't know existed.
They actually played with that army?
It's a compendium scroll. I had to look it up, but I forgot to look up a couple things about them. But they're actually kind of good for 80 points each. They have a spell and 100?
Yeah.
100 points each. They actually come with a spell, which, if you do it right, that's kind of terrifying if you bundle up around the woods because you're constantly activating the woods. We're playing on the table and on the live table, and he's a little soft-spoken, so he actually has a lot of trouble communicating to Nick. So I'm communicating everything with mine to Nick as well as his, and the first round took a long time because I've never ran into a Sylvaneth opponent that wants to start combat round 1. He literally went gung-ho right out the left flank because I just set up like my super turtle, and he set up completely on the left flank, and he teleported along the tower on the left flank, charging Treekin into my liberators. He actually killed a couple, even with rerolls. I kind of just held him there. One of the things that he did, though, was I guess he forgot about my Heralder, because I told him before the game that it allows me to run and charge, and he put his Durthu within charge range of me to a decent roll on both the run and the charge, but getting to reroll both of them from Reckless, I believed I could have made it, and I did, and I thought I'd been rolling decent, because I actually wounded him a couple times with the Tootie Toots, and a couple other things, the Lord Castellan throwing hammer time. But I rolled 7 mortal wounds on 4 Star Soul Maces, so he's alive at 9 wounds. And sticking to the tournament, the theme of the tournament for me, not winning a single priority roll outside my first game. On the first roll, he goes and heals Durthu right up. I think he went back up to, another 8 wounds. No, 7 wounds. He went up to 7 wounds.
That hurts.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Yeah.
And so he actually shoots back and shoots at my Heralder, capping him off, because that's apparently what Kurnoth Hunters do, because he was running 3 Kurnoth Hunters with bows, the typical oaken armor on Durthu and the Tree Lord Ancient. And apparently a 5-up save against 3 wounds from Kurnoth Hunter bows isn't the greatest thing in the world. So he got blasted away. That should be your first target as a Sylvaneth player because of all the mortal wounds. Because when he did do his Tootie Toot, he did 19 mortal wounds to the entire Sylvaneth army.
God.
Well, he was huddled his entire army around one thing, and it was just like, dang, I'm just like, click, delete.
Yeah, that's awesome. But you won't do that again.
Yeah, right? So, okay. So he shoots at me a little bit and does a couple wounds. Goes quickly to the combat phase, because outside that, there's not really much going on other than just combat, because he didn't really want to move anywhere else. He wanted to stay in combat. I was running 1 Gryph-hound, Sir Archibald the Brave, actually killed a Treekin in close combat.
Nice.
I was pretty proud of that. And so was Rob and Eddie on the Twitch stream. Pretty psyched about that. But so it goes to the combat with Durthu. Oh, and when Durthu struck back, he didn't do any wounds just because I had the 2+ save, rerolling 4s, essentially. I managed to save all my saves against him. So round 2 comes with the Durthu. He swings away, obviously picking Durthu first. Gets another 3 attacks, swinging it with 6 attacks. I think he wounded 4 times, and I saved another 4 times.
Talk about disheartening.
Yeah.
Must have felt like crap.
And he actually hit with his stomp both times, so obviously on my swords just can't do anything. It's just Star Saw Maces. So I swing back. There's some combat going on other places, but none of it really affecting the game whatsoever. It's mainly just hinging kind of on the Durthu and the Paladins. He's got 7 wounds left, and I got 4 Star Saw Maces. What do I roll? I roll 6 mortal wounds, leaving him with 1 wound left.
God.
And I was like, holy crap. It was like, that happened again. I was like, okay, well, it happens. I was like, at least it's my turn next, and I know I have plenty of ways of doing mortal wounds to Durthu. I'll set it up that way. And apparently, just because we got stuck in the thick of things so quick, it took a long time to get set up and everything. We had maybe about 30 minutes left, 35, 40.
Oh, man.
So I was like, okay, we got to speed this up. His comet from Gift from the Heavens landed on the far right side. Me and him were basically I'm in the middle and the left. He's completely on the left-hand side. I think he put some tree revenants over there, but they weren't in range because there was a big old piece of tower in the way. So he couldn't actually be within 6 just because how big the tower was. I actually moved some Liberators to my right flank because my comet landed on the right side as well. So, yeah, there's like hardly anything on the right side, and there's 2 objectives all the way on the far right flank. Bottom of my turn 2. And I basically declared that I'm going to teleport my Vexilor banner with my Paladins out of the combat after I buff them. Because the game's coming to a close, and we need to just have it kind of go fast. So I teleport them all the way to the right flank on his objective, and then have my objective as well, claiming 4 points at the end of my turn. The Fulminators on the left-hand flank actually ran over and did a breath attack, doing the final mortal wound to Durthu. Bastard finally fell. A mortal wound. But
tell us how you really feel.
Well, I think a little part of me thinks I started the hate train for Elric. To be honest, because I've been playing James forever. I had that objective on the right side, and so top of turn 3 happens. We're both looking at the table. He's looking at it, and he feels like he has no chance to get past my Paladins because they're at a 2-up rerollable right now. Has no way to do it. I think he killed a couple of Liberators in the bottom right. When I landed, I actually killed a couple of the Tree Revenants, but he forgot to take them off. And then he did a battle shock, and they went away because I think there was only 3 left. So there's nothing over there to claim the objectives except for Kurnoth Hunters with bows slowly going against Paladin Protectors, which isn't the greatest thing in the world. And he had no way of getting to my bottom right, so we did the scenario to look at the game, and we basically called the game and shook hands and walked away with 5 major wins and a minor win. So went 6-0 for the tournament.
Oh yeah, well done.
Thank you.
So do we want to get into overall results or?
Well, we can talk about Ryan real quick. He was
sure.
7th
I heard he
wheel.
won a couple games.
So Ryan took the Warrior Brotherhood that James painted last minute, and failed us horribly overall. You know,
he did pretty good.
no, whatever. He didn't win it.
I'm about to say because
But I heard Stormcast still won it.
Yeah,
he still went 4-2.
Yeah, he actually
he did real well.
Pretty
Yeah,
well.
and I think
He's very good at playing the objective. I mean, even though 2 of his games
Yeah, I
he
think
was completely outpointed, but he
2
still won.
games he had a
major
grand total of 200 or 300 points and
Well, he
got major wins in both.
He won one game where he gave up 1,900 points and only killed 100.
Yeah,
but still won.
Still got
With
the
a
major
major
win. Yeah.
So way to go, Ryan Taylor.
he got I think he got 15th overall.
Was it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was looking at the stats earlier for the team tournament for the teams that were in there. In the top 15, there was everyone. I think a lot of the teams just had 1 player in there. We had 3.
Yeah.
And the only other one who was close was the 40K converts with 2 team players in the top 15.
Yeah.
Ben Moley and Ben Cromwell,
Ben
or was it
Ben.
Bill Souza?
I think it was Bill.
Bill Souza, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Bill Souza was in the top
Nice.
15. So
yeah,
I mean,
with that Flesh Eater Court list, yeah.
yeah, that's not too bad. The one I lost to. So it wasn't too bad overall. And I think just for anyone who doesn't know, GW was scoring this tournament differently than the ITC guys. I think they use the ITC app for pairing.
Yes.
Which
Just
makes it super easy.
Yeah, which is super easy. It's an awesome experience. I mean, you
Amazing
got your
app.
player list, you got your pairings, you can enter it right there. Don't have to
Mhm.
go up and wait in line or anything like that. It's a huge benefit. But if you read the tournament pack
Yeah.
for the LVO,
If.
they told you how it was being scored. So they basically ran it the same way as Warlords. It was the first determinant was major victories. The second determinant was minor victories, sportsmanship, and then victory points.
But you had to get a best.
You had to get a
Had
best
to get a
opponent.
best opponent vote.
Wow.
You had to get
Yeah.
at least one, yeah.
Which we didn't have. There wasn't any issue with that after all, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah.
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 I believe all the top three that were in the running actually all got.
All got
Yeah, that's what
favorite
John said.
opponent vote.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was
Yeah, it was the ones in the GW rankings.
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
got favorite opponent votes, which just goes to show that it's possible and it happens.
yeah.
You can kick face, you can kick butt, and still get a favorite opponent vote.
Yeah.
So I think,
Not be a dick about it.
yep, I think in the ITC app I got 11th, so I was just a hair short of my top 10
Goal.
goal.
But
But if you add in the painting nomination, I think it bumped me, and I had 2 favorite opponent votes, it bumped me to like 7th or 8th, somewhere around there.
yeah, so you're in the top 10.
No.
So you can
So
retire.
you placed 8th.
Even if you
you
average
placed
it
8th.
out, you're still in the top 10.
And Sylvan, if they're done, they're being shelved.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Man of your word, James. Man of your word. I don't want to play it anymore.
We don't get that lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty happy with my results. 6 good games. Painting nomination. Met some cool people over there.
Well, so we all had goals,
Yep.
you know, like objectives, as it were,
Yeah.
going into it. Did you meet all those?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on what scoring system you take. But yeah,
You did.
You
Sure
did.
did.
You
James.
did.
sure.
What about you, Bill?
I did. I said I would go 1-5. My list was not tournament ready, but I
I think,
Ended
up
the
2 and
list
4.
was tournament ready. I think you just needed a couple more games
Gotta-
under your belt to play the list.
There's
I
a
think it
thing
was a solid
to do
list.
when you do Warhammer.
You play games.
It helps you. I don't.
who needs to play?
I mean, playing the game
Ryan-
against Elric really helps
Ryan
motivate you
plays
going
and
into
he
the
got, what,
tournament.
you said
But
15?
Ryan got, yeah, but that's Ryan. He's top tier player too. So
Oh, he's gonna let that go straight to his ginger head.
Oh.
No, he does. He used to do pretty good in 8th edition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's no.
I mean,
he's no
contrary to
slouch.
his appearance at the Rolling Bad Rumble
Oh yeah, well,
with his Sylvaneth experience.
yeah.
And in my defense, I can say I never won a game of 8th or 7th or 6th or 5th or 4th.
Well, then you're already ahead of
So-
the curve.
Yeah.
There you go.
What about you? Did you meet your goal?
Yeah, for the most part. I had some really good games against some really well. the games were fun. Even getting my head kicked in by Cunning Rucks and stuff. But more importantly, the people I played against were all really cool, and that's what I was really hoping for. Because some of my past tournament experiences have not been particularly great with the players. So yeah, I want to say thank you to all the people that I played against for making it enjoyable. And we also got to meet a ton of listeners and stuff, fans of the show, which was crazy.
I actually want to give a shout out to John, who ran the whole.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
He was
he was
amazing.
an awesome TO. He made sure that everyone had fun.
Yeah.
I mean, even afterwards, when the tournament was over, we were helping pick up some of the train. I mean, he jumped right in there. I'm pretty sure he was tired from running the whole thing and everything else, and
wasted.
he stuck around after the LVO was over to help us
put up the
terrain.
terrain.
Put away
I mean, he was
frontline
really
gaming,
careful.
yeah.
He was really careful with putting the helping put the train away. I mean, he didn't want to break anything. I mean,
Yeah.
just over. I think GW is very lucky to have someone like that.
Oh yeah, because
run
he's
their
the
major events.
head event runner for GW.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Warhammer World. So I think
which is awesome.
they're very lucky to have someone like him.
Yeah. And let me just add a quick note to folks. If you play in a tournament, I know sometimes you got to catch a flight out of town. You got to get in your car and go. I know it was Super Bowl Sunday, but after the tournament was over, I think there was the 4 of us and a couple of other guys putting up terrain, and then the frontline guys.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of frontline guys. So, I mean, stick around and help tear it down.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff to put away.
Yeah, and we were there for quite a while. And it's not hard work. We're talking about putting trees in boxes.
Yeah,
You know,
rolling up mats.
Rolling up mats. We're not talking about back breaking, but just, you know, there was only a couple of frontline guys because they were also tearing apart a 500-man.
Plus, they had the whole
40K
other
tournament.
room with the 30K and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it was just our way of showing our appreciation for them running the event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're going to throw shout-outs, got to give it to Reese and Frankie, too.
Oh yeah,
Because
they
that
look
was
styling in
whole-
their suits.
Yeah.
The whole frontline team.
just
sure.
rocking it out of the house.
Pablo and even the
Jason
Best Coast pairings for
The
them.
the whole best. So, I want to give a special shout out to Best Coast Pairings, and they're not a sponsor or anything like that. So that's nice because we can say whatever we want. But the Best Coast Pairings app is amazing.
Yes.
For if you're not only for tournament organizers but tournament players, because at the end of each game, you and your opponent just punch in whether it was a major victory, minor victory, draw, minor loss, major loss. You punch how many points you got for each of you, and then you each put in your password and submit it. And once everybody's done once everyone has submitted their scores, the tournament organizer literally pushes one button and it automatically pairs up the next round. It is
Amazing.
fantastic.
Stupendous, yeah.
That being said, this is probably going to be one of our major topics for next week. Is what I would add. This is a critique, is it needs to have a soft score aspect added in.
Yeah.
And we're really going to dig into that with our next episode, I think, of how critical soft scores are to Age of Sigmar in our scene. So, but definitely hats off to the Best Coast Pairings guys. They've put together a fantastic pice of software.
Yep.
As for goals, I had 4, and I believe I met all of them. One was actually, I really, really wanted to take my list to a major tournament that wasn't Warrior Brotherhood and prove that it could be competitive. That Stormcast aren't just a one-trick pony. 2, I wanted to play against Ben Moley. 3, I wanted to make top 10. And 4, I wanted to, at some point during the tournament, play what would be considered the top table, which ended up being the Warhammer Live Twitch game, which was awesome. So that I actually got to meet all 4 of my goals, which was pretty damn epic for me.
But since we're talking about rankings, how did you actually finish overall? I mean, I know you had some wins and all, but how did you finish?
I hear some chucklehead got first overall with a couple of best opponent votes, and some guy named Andrew Standiferd. I don't know. One with Stormcast Eternals. He is, and he's proud of that aspect of his life. But I ended up taking first overall grand champion of the LVO AOS tournament. Pretty damn excited. And then one thing for sure is the fact that Elric will never live this down.
Yeah.
I never hear the end of it.
Yay!
But I'm also pretty darn proud the fact that it's amazing that I got to win the first AOS run by GW event in the United States.
Yep.
So that's a big honor for me as far as I'm concerned for myself.
Also the largest American AOS tournament to this point.
Yeah.
Until next month. But yeah.
Well, whatever. I'm just saying.
I got it for a month.
Yeah.
But with that, I actually ended up having to realize that I, no matter what, feel obligated and will gladly go back to the LVO next year to try and defend the title.
There you go. So is that going to be a wrap on the LVO coverage?
Well, we have some questions from listeners, and a lot of them revolve around the LVO experience. So let's crack into that, shall we?
Sure.
So,
Feed me, Seymour.
let's see. The first one is from Relian, and this is in regards to the Grand Alliance forums that has a thread that was put up by our buddy Tyler Emerson at Scrubby and Wells that had the rankings and a bunch of the lists posted on it, and I'll touch on to that later. He says, the topic got a little heated on TGA, but how do you guys feel about the lack of a lot of the net lists / top lists from the field, either positively, negatively, ambivalent? Obviously, it didn't detract from the event. Would you like to have seen some? So there were some of the lists that are considered, quote, top tier, filth, whatever you want to call them.
I believe I played 4 of them in my experience.
Well, the corn list that Ben Mully played is something out of left field as well. Just like your list is out of left field. What he's referring to is like Scryer, Warrior Brotherhood, and the Mixed Destruction.
I mean, there was quite a few. I mean, I played the Mixed Destruction with the Gun Ruck,
the Sylvaneth,
and he came in pretty decent. He came in the top 15. So I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, there were plenty of Warrior Brotherhoods there.
Oh yeah,
there was a lot of Sylvaneth presence,
and there was a lot of Sylvaneth.
There was a major amount of Sylvaneth.
So I mean,
there.
I don't think there was any Scryer. But I don't.
There
think
was actually 2 Scryer.
Was there
the
pop-up ones? The ones that pop up?
Huh? There was one that popped up.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think that just goes to show, because I think this goes. We'll talk about this later date, but I think it goes to show that net lists aren't necessarily all that's it. It's not about the lists. I mean, because there were some Warrior Brotherhoods that were just sitting around the middle of the table.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think I know me and Andrew, when we went into it, we figured what net lists were going to be there. Mm-hmm. And we had a plan how to dismantle each one of those net lists.
Exactly.
Right. So, and I think that could be I don't think it might necessarily be an issue with, the net lists were at the top, but I think maybe people are already prepared for them and know how to deal with them, or are building their list with those in mind.
Sure.
So
Plus, keep in mind the Mixed Destruction list, which is the 3 Thunder Tusks, the Frostlord on Stonehorn, the 3 blobs of Grots with Fanatics, and the Shaman. It won Heat 1, and then there wasn't another one in the top 20.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's a solid list, but it has to be played well, and that's the same for any of them.
Yep.
Ben Curry did amazing with the Warrior Brotherhood that he hadn't really played before. Ben Curry is a really good player.
Yep.
Ryan, in our group, did pretty well with the Warrior Brotherhood that he had never played before.
In one of his games, he had a really bad matchup that he didn't even know anything about against that Duarden list.
Oh, yeah. So flame cannons are a thing.
Yeah, but he didn't know what the army did at all.
Those are pretty good.
But he did well because he'll never admit it, but he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Solid, very solid.
So it's not, there's never been a game where you just get a list and it takes you to the top. It just doesn't work that way. I mean,
just like 40K.
Just like 40K, everyone is always bitching about how Eldar are the most overpowered thing, and yet Eldar rarely ever win events because you can't just pick that army up and start winning with it. So as far as like what's considered net lists, plus that changes from meta to meta,
Yeah. But if I was joking with Elric about this earlier, I was like, but anybody that's seen my list and wants to try it out, you're more than welcome to fly down to the.
So I'll touch on. I'll touch on that.
Oh.
So we also.
Come on, read the good question.
You gotta read it. Don't skip it.
Some a-hole asks, why did Bill slow play you? Oh yeah, no, this is a good one. This is the right one to ask. Why did Bill slow play you on Warhammer TV? Yeah, Bill. Why did you slow play me on Warhammer TV?
I was nervous as all hell. It was my first game with that army.
Can relate.
And I was winning. What the hell?
I'm winning. I can take my time.
And what was your favorite bit of the weekend?
Ooh. I'm going to go with playing Arturo and those Beast Claw Raiders, which I was terrified of, and actually found out that I can actually, a few dice rolls had gone my way. I might have actually took them. Nah. But
Nice.
but no, it was a great game, and it was a fun game, and he was a great guy. So
James, your favorite?
Man, there was a lot of good
Yeah.
things in that event. If I had to pick one, maybe Game 3. Just playing that other guy who got the painting nomination.
Oh,
I mean, it's not very often that I get to play other super highly painted other armies, so.
Yeah.
he's just basically told us we suck.
Yep. That's how I took it. Andrew, we all know it was the highlight of your weekend.
You know, becoming the LVO champion was pretty darn good.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna
outside,
say,
like
could it be the
between
awards
games,
ceremony?
you know, it was between Tyler Amoy and Ben Moley, both amazing games within the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, winning the tournament was pretty damn good. You know, cheering, having everybody cheer you on, holding that big awesome gold.
I was the guy
trophy.
in the background going, boo!
Yeah, because you.
Mine, it was awesome meeting so many people that were fans of the show and everything. It was awesome meeting the guys from Games Workshop.
Rob and Eddie.
Yeah. Well, and the guys behind the camera,
And
too.
yeah,
you
Dan
know.
was great. Nick was great. Don't mean to slight them.
Right. And John. But I mean, honestly, I guess the highlight would be playing on the stream. Like that's like a once in a lifetime.
That was a pinnacle kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, so that was my.
Getting to experience that is definitely phenomenal.
Yeah. Next question.
You gonna skip over Ryan's other question?
It's coming. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Oh, it wasn't Ryan's question.
Oh, it was Relian?
It was Relian. Relian asks a stupid question.
Beautiful question.
Stupid.
Beautiful.
How much did it hurt to get schooled by the superior player on your cast while on live TV?
How did it feel, Elric?
It felt awesome. I was on Warhammer TV. Like, I could have played dumbass Sylvaneth and still felt amazing. There's a question revolving. Ryan asks, and since Sylvaneth didn't win, does it change your opinions of them? No. That's that hate train.
Burn it all.
Yeah. No, the only
Saruman that stuff.
the only thing that would really change my critical analysis of Sylvaneth as a whole is if additional armies continue to come out and be at that power level. That's really the only thing.
You mean
because,
like Stormcast?
well, yeah.
Next time, could you let me
So-
save my watch, okay? Because it's thick in here.
No, I'm serious. So, like, I really want to see what Disciples of Zinj is capable of
Yeah,
putting out.
Looks like a solid
And
book.
Obviously, Stormcasts are already really good, so it'll be interesting to see what giving them their own allegiance ability and their own artifacts and prayers
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
that's
is
gonna
going
be big.
Plus the new Vanguard chamber.
Mm.
And then hopefully, maybe Duarden in March. Huh?
I'm thinking.
Ah.
Are you gonna start a hashtag Duarden over your hashtags? Get the
No.
Fire Slayers.
Because I'm ready for the Duarden release, but the Fire Slayers thing has got to happen. Hashtag get started Fire Slayers. Make it so.
Do we want to touch on the other people that placed in the tournament, second and third?
Who?
Well, I know second, but I don't know third.
We still got questions. We still got questions.
Okay, all right.
Domus asks, how is it playing on the stream? It's pretty.
I think we covered that.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
amazing.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
What was your favorite game of the event? Bill slow playing me on the stream.
It's pretty epic watching it, actually.
Yeah. And what do you hope to see for the event next year?
Cheaper prices.
Not $6 effing cans of soda, maybe?
You mean sneaking in
$15
soda?
or $10
Yeah.
lunches that
I
are.
think one of my battle foam bags
curious
will be
about
turning into a cooler next year.
Sounds like a plan.
What do I hope to see next year? I hope to see GW back again, which I'm pretty sure if you are following the Frontline guys on Twitter is going to happen.
Super positive.
And I hope to see more people. I hope to see it get bigger. I mean, we had 81.
I think it was 81 to 84.
At the beginning.
86. and
86?
it dropped.
86, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a couple drops, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, if we could take it up over 100, that would be pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, I know the guys we played in the narrative, the three guys that were right next to us, all said they weren't ready for tournament play, but they're definitely going to be there next year. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know some people from like the Midwest and stuff
Mhm.
that definitely want to try to squeeze it into their tournament schedule. So
Well, I actually know a bunch of my 40K buddies around the country that are actually really getting into the AOS scene and really wanting to plan on it, and
Yeah.
saying how they saw the overall experience from like their buddies like Ben Moley and Bill Souza and Ben Cromwell, and then it really gave them a good feeling for the overall tournament experience to play in it.
even if it means they have to get a best opponent vote to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alright.
That actually just reminds me, too, that when I was playing on Table 1, Game 1, one of the 4K judges came up and complimented the AOS armies that were there. He said, he knew that painting was a requirement
Mhm.
for the tournament, but he said, people put in that effort. The armies, all of them, look good.
Yeah.
I mean, he was saying they had to go about 5 or 6 tables down on some of those 40K games because they could not find people
Yeah.
with painted armies or stuff that was painted enough to be presentable on the stream.
On a standard, yeah. And I got that a lot from some of those guys, too, that, everything was painted, but, it was enough to get in the show in the 40K side.
Not all the 40K armies were paid.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
But
Which is
again,
crazy.
and also there was some that were amazing,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful.
There was that one that I saw that looked like it was a Tau army, looked like Pacific Rim style suits.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there was a Gene Stealer cult army that looked fantastic with its display board. I tried to post a couple of pictures on my Twitter feed of the 40K, some of the armies that really stood out to me because I wanted to show those guys love. I know
Yeah.
that 40K can kind of get blasted as not having a strong hobby side, but
It
definitely
there are
does.
some
There's
some bros there
crazy
that
good.
know what they're doing with the brush. So
Yeah.
Chuck Moore asks, curious to hear all your thoughts on the recent point change article for Tomb Kings, etc. Will it change the field that much? We pretty much
We
touched
hit
on
that
it. I think
already,
the
yeah.
guys that really want to keep playing Tomb Kings will keep playing Tomb Kings,
Absolutely.
and the guys who are looking for the new hotness will move on. And hopefully it makes Fire Slayers a more prominent army.
Here's hoping.
I know what will really make that happen is get started.
Yeah.
Box.
or battalion.
So
Yeah.
really it's a battalion that they could really go for.
Yeah.
Something like the Icewind Assault box. But let's not derail into my pet project here. So,
One man stands alone.
and Austin Morgan said it was rad meeting you dudes. Yeah, very much so. It was very cool. meeting
He's
you as
actually
well.
the gentleman that won second
Second.
overall.
Yeah.
He
Mhm.
came in
because-
second with 5 out of 6 best opponent
opponent
And
votes.
had
votes.
a best painted nomination.
And-
And a nomination. So, for anyone who said, well, it's his soft scores that catapulted him to a podium, mildly, he was in 5th before that.
Yeah.
So he was playing and winning his game
Yeah, he
solidly.
was doing real well.
Mhm.
So, it's not like he catapulted from the mid tables
No, he
to
had a
take a
beat.
podium
No.
spot.
He had a beautifully painted Sylvaneth army.
Yeah.
I saw his army. It was amazing. I regret not getting pictures of it. I'm sure he can, show us the pictures.
Oh, yeah. Can we go back to the results for just 1 minute? Because I want to throw a shout out to Frank Deloach out there from,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, our buddy out there managed to, for those of you that may not know, the person that comes in dead last in the field, having played all the games, so you can't go play one game and take the worst player. Yeah, he won the Wooden Spoon Award, which is for the person that scored the worst.
But it was really awesome.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, the
beautiful.
guys at front line, I guess Frankie's dad actually made a full size, beautiful demon sword.
No, it was a Sigmarite blade.
Sigmarite blade, you're right. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
And
Everybody signed it too.
everyone signed it.
Made
and-
out of wood.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, of course, because
Yeah.
can't hit nothing with that.
They actually made a bolter one for the
Yeah,
40K as well.
guys.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. I didn't
yeah.
see that one.
Old Frank took that prize along with, I think he got some dice because obviously his
Oh.
dice.
Oh, yeah.
And
Need to
dice,
change.
and he got the Silver Tower
And a
because he needed
Silver
to play a
Tower
new
set.
game.
That's
Yeah.
right.
A different game.
You
So
got some
good on you,
sweet
Frank.
prizes. And then, okay, so first overall was Andrew. Second was Austin. And then third was probably the most important one, really, here, because was Brian Cortez with Iron Jaws.
So this means you just don't know how to play Iron Jaws.
I am actually firmly
admit
behind that.
That I am garbage with Iron Jaws at this point.
So Brian, you need to reach
some
out.
Butt and was with a Maw Crusher?
A Maw Crusher and Gore Gruntas. With Ard Boys too, by the way. Ard Boys. Something that's
basically everything you
unplayable.
Garbage in the Iron Jaws army is what he won with.
Brian, we would really appreciate it if you'd reach out to at Elric Edge and teach him a thing or two on how to play Iron Jaws so we can stop listening to the
I can't
constant
even hate.
whining.
I would appreciate that as well.
But yeah, congrats to those guys for getting second and third as well. That's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They got those trophies that GW gave out were pretty darn cool. The ones with the hammers.
Yeah. So obviously Austin won Best Sports.
He got Best Sports
too.
Yeah, Best Sports.
And Best Painted went to...
I don't remember his name, but I know what he looked like.
The Chaos Army with the conversions.
Yeah, he had
it was
a super
pretty amazing
converted Hell
Chaos
Cannon.
Army.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Beautiful army.
I guess that's pretty much it.
So with all the winnings, does this make us officially the U.S. tournament podcast?
Yeah.
Coming in first,
I think so.
8th, and then 15th, getting some pretty good results in the top 15.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Although apparently our tournament was super weak with a bunch of beginners and lists that suck, but
I like
We are rolling back.
yeah. Anyways, is there anything else we want to talk about?
Shout outs to Frankie and Reese again for putting on a fantastic show.
Yeah.
Everything ran on time. There was plenty of space between the tables. It was laid out great.
It was a very smooth
Yeah.
tournament for being how massive
Yeah.
it truly was.
I think it's out of the software.
There was that moment when
What's that?
nobody could load up their pairings because everybody in
Oh.
the room was
like
on the app. It was crazy.
700
Like,
people trying to check their next round at the same time.
And, that was just a fluke of scheduling because it never happened
Just
that
that
40K
one round. I was
ended
like,
at
holy
the same
crap.
time the Sigmar ended.
Mhm.
Probably War Machine had just ended too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there was probably close to 1,000 folks trying to get near that.
Mhm.
Didn't work.
I would just like to thank you guys for having me on the show and to be able to do the report with you guys and everything. I really appreciate it.
Instead of just being like, oh, yeah, some dude won. Whatever.
I think being part of the crew kind of helps,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I've been playing you guys for a while, and Alric and James have been helping me fine-tune my list and whatnot, and giving me opinions and whatnot on the whole experience. So, a giant journey.
Yeah.
Well done.
There you go. You
There
can
you
go
go.
into returement.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's
You're
only
gonna
the
go on
beginning,
top.
and guess what?
Until some kid finds your lightsaber and tracks you down on some distant planet.
He's more than welcome to come along. If I can cut down my lightsaber, that's awesome.
Yeah. Return it, damn it. Yeah, I think that's about it then, right?
Yep. James, anything
Yeah.
else?
That's it.
All right.
Andrew, congrats again for winning the LVO.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It was definitely an experience of a lifetime.
There you go.
First of many to come, I hope.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we're out.
If you would like to get a hold of us, you can reach us at our email address, which is rollingbadpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at rollingbad.com. We have a Twitter account for the podcast, which is at rolling_bad. We also have a Facebook page. You can just search for Rolling Bad on Facebook. We each have an individual Twitter account. You can reach me at Elric Edge.
You can get me at Bill Castello, Castello.
And I'm at Tersoth.
You can also see our work, mostly James, at our Instagram page, Rolling Bad, all one word.